because you can track her for the bit. Oh, what?
I was just gonna comment about the Pokemon Go thing one more time, where it's like, yeah, no.
Well, I can just say when I'm coming in here. Hi everybody, welcome to Discussing Tabletop. Everybody should know I'm a pretty big fan of Pokemon Go. I like using it for a little bit of fun, and it does satisfy some of that addictive parts of my personality. It keeps me from like spending money on a lot more expensive hobbies.
Look,
but anyway, their Twitch, like, oh god, you know how much I haven't had an urge to buy Magic cards? Like, cool sets, I have an urge to buy because it's a cool set. But everything else, I'm just like, yeah, I can do without that. It's so freeing just to have that ideal not in my brain sometimes of just like that, you know, oh, I can do without that. Like Bloomborough, I'm thinking, oh, I kind of want to buy that because it's really cool. But everything else, I'm like, I don't want to buy it. It's not cool. Anyway, the Pokemon Go Twitch channel got banned.
I mean, they had it. They've had it coming for about 6 years at the moment, or however long it's been since someone said Pokemon Go to the polls.
6 years wouldn't surprise me.
I think that was 8 years, actually.
It is an 8-year-old game.
Pokemon Go to the polls. Someone said that.
Anyway, I have already pinned into Twitch chat if you're joining us live the docket, so you can check that out there, or it'll be in the description if you're joining us on YouTube. But yes, we're going to be talking about a lot of interesting topics today. I think we can get through our news, which is a couple of interesting things, but nothing big, before we head on to talking some 5.5. I think we talked about it the other week, how that's where third-party publishers are going to be referring to it as, so I'm just going to refer to it as 5.5, honestly, for now.
Yep.
It's just so much easier.
Honestly, it's really 6 because of how different it is, but...
It's the weird part, because it's like, I feel like, and this is just an early preview, they took a lot of, like, normally you say, like, oh, they took 2 steps forward, 1 step back. I feel like they took a lot of 1 step forward, 1 step back in so many places. Like,
that's just my humble opinion on this new edition. They got to the top of the staircase, slipped, and fell down the entire thing. They really fucked it.
Yeah. I mean, my short thing is, I think it just needed a lot more time to cook.
Yes, they really wanted it out for this anniversary.
They wanted it out for this anniversary, and with everything in 2022, end of 2022, 2023, they pushed forward to rush it anyway. Because goodwill. The anniversary is a goodwill time, you know? Anyway, so our normal topics, we can start with the, and that's just nice one, is if you're getting excited for Starfinder 2nd Edition, they have a Humble, which is a primer of a lot of stuff, the setup for it. Yes, it's 1st edition stuff, but it's some adventurers, like the Drift Crisis, which was the big, like, story, lore event that happened at the back end of 1st edition. So yeah, and there's a lot of the back end of adventure paths that would lead up to 2nd edition. So yeah, it's establishing a lot of story and adventures and all that kind of stuff, and it's got a bunch of flip mats and all the normal things in here.
Yeah.
So it is still 1st edition, just keep that in mind, but it is a lot of stuff that could help you get your, at least the universe, your knowledge, and your adventures up for 2nd edition when it comes out, so it's a cool thing to be doing, honestly. And it's the worthy cause that they're doing it for are girls who code. So I don't know about that charity, but on their on Paizo's website, they say that's the one that they're the bundle includes accompany access in Hero Labs, all while helping the worthy cause Girls Who Code. So
yeah, Girls Who Code is a nonprofit that helps young women get into like tech and stuff, because tech is a very male-centric industry still. Like, it kind of sucks, because a lot of women are kind of pushed out of it still.
Yeah.
Less so now.
It's getting better, but it's still not quite there.
My programming class in college was pretty 50-50, honestly.
Yeah, it's getting pretty nice now, but...
I think it's the thing that we're getting to a better point, but it's still like, because we still have a lot of the older generations, which maybe were ingrained in a lot of this stuff, in the top tier things, we still need to push forward.
as far as I'm aware, it's actually more hiring that's more of an issue. Schooling
Yeah.
is like fine,
Oh.
but like after that is where it gets weird. And that's because there's a bunch of old farts who think women can't do things.
Ah, God, yeah. Old farts that think terrible things. They do a lot of bad stuff for our society.
Oh, yeah,
Please,
old
old farts, either stop having retire, learn to just not care, or I don't know what else to say. Retire or just learn to not
Actually,
care.
retire, please. If you're like of retirement age, just retire if you can.
Yeah, especially if you have a lot of money.
Especially if you work for Nvidia currently, just cash out your stock before that thing explodes.
Was it Nvidia that's having the problems? Or was it
Nvidia's stock is so high that it's probably going to collapse soon.
Okay, because I knew there was also was it Intel that was having problems with
Intel is having side tangent. Intel stuff. You should check what Intel chip you have because some of them are degrading faster than they should be, and it's literally killing your computer.
Yeah.
Wait, say that again?
Some Intel chips are like super fucked and degrading faster than they should be, and they're harming your computer. But it's like the older stuff. The newer stuff doesn't have that issue, I believe.
Oh, okay.
And it took up until this year to be like, yeah, this is a problem with these older chips.
Yeah. I heard of people talking about it, how, like,
But could be they just found out this year that the chips had these
Yeah.
issues, right?
Do you know when the cutoff date was? Because it's like...
Let me find it for you.
My current computer was built in like 2020. Actually, I think I got an Asus. Never mind. I have an Asus processor.
The 13th and 14th gen chips are defective.
Yeah.
Well, then I skipped that. Okay, that's good. Because like my last computer only had like, I want to say 7th or 8th gen.
Really cool.
Yep.
Anyway. So let's move on to more...
Anyway, yeah, we got we can't get distracted by that. Positive topics. I mean, the humble one's a positive topic. You know, continue to try to iron out the lots of problems and you know, get the tech industry and stuff back up into like with a lot of other industries. How it's just your ability as a person rather than anything about you earns you your job and work ethic. Those two things combined. Hey, that'd be nice. Anyway. There's another Pathfinder thing, which I am going by an article because they're not talking about it on... I probably could find a, maybe, like, page for it, like a pre-page on Paizo's site, but they don't have an article about it on Paizo's site, so... Apparently they're going to be doing a Guns and Gears remaster. So I was not expecting many more things with the remaster project, but I guess Guns and Gears, because it's very popular, because it has their... Gunslinger and Inventor, which tend to be some very popular classes. They're getting a remaster for this one too.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so,
no, I think they're going to remaster all the ones with classes, because the classes are what need the updates the most.
That makes sense, and I guess it's also like they'll probably go by things that are the most popular, and I can't lie, gunslingers tend to be very popular.
Yeah. I mean, personally, I want an update for the Magus. I want to play a Magus at some point.
I'm sure we'll get some more updates and stuff as they get some more new stuff and things too. And some more updates, it'll be good. We'll see more. But again, we know this is coming out soon. We'll probably get more details as it comes out. This is planned for February of next year, so not. 6 months away, so a little bit away, but we'll probably hear more about it getting closer. But yeah, I wanted to throw that one out.
Gears, that's gadgets, archetypes, gadgets, firearms, vehicles. Okay, yeah, so it's basically kind of weird heavy equipment, and then the class and ancestries related to
the ancestry and
tech.
Like using their updating. I don't know how there are probably some things related to the tech rules with the new stuff because I haven't really looked. Again, I've briefly looked into the second edition core. I haven't dived super deep into it because I was waiting until I was going to start running things before I was going to know.
I've read basically all of it.
I was just thinking where points in the updated rules would be applied to the tech for major changes. I'm curious about that. I don't know if there's major or minor changes. Because the tech side of things. Because it is I
kind of doubt a lot, but I honestly, the classes I think are more...
The classes are probably the major thing.
Yeah.
Maybe the ancestry a
personally,
little bit.
Okay, to be fair, I haven't looked at what's in Guns and Gears to be able to tell you if things would change them.
Yeah, okay. That's the
but,
thing that you have to, like, compare and stuff, too.
Yeah. I can get back to you on this later.
Again, we'll probably talk about it later. We're getting out closer to when it comes out. If there's some major things. So, here was an interesting one, and I found an article about it rather than just the X/Twitter post that you provided.
I did give you a Twitter post.
But I found this article that dives into it a little bit more. Critical Role is coming to Among Us.
Yeah, everyone's favorite video game, Amogus.
I'm not gonna lie.
It's a good game, and
I
haven't seen anything about it in like a few years, in like a year or two.
It still gets maps. I think my
modded community.
My experience with Among Us is watching people play it, and then having played it on a stream with Tantus, and then getting yelled at by someone for 30 minutes, and then never wanting to play again.
My experience with it is buying it and never being able to get a group together.
I think for me, like, I originally kind of wanted to try it out during its early days, but it's when you watch it a lot more, you kind of learn that the base game is fine, but there's a lot of dynamics to it that leads to frustrations and conflict in a lot of the ways it's built. And that's where I think the modded community did a really good job with like a lot of different roles. So you're just not normal crewmates. You have like little abilities and like trust people. And then there's like also like neutral people that can be killing people. It expanded the game and made it actually a lot more, honestly speaking, like Town of Salem. Which Town of Salem has its own troubles.
Hey, there's a second Town of Salem now, so...
Yeah. But I've been watching the modded occasionally, like maybe checking it out. Like some people, like they put in the background. Like
I'm very curious as to why Among Us and not like any other popular game with skins.
It's one of those weird things too, because it is Among Us, and Among Us has the base game has added some stuff closer to the modded community, but it's very slow and it's not a lot. So it's sort of like, again. Most times I see people playing Among Us nowadays, it's the modded stuff. The base game is so rare. Not that they can't have skins and use those from the base game. Yeah, but it's just this kind of weird spot of like, I don't know. But apparently, like, there's a whole bunch of like things to unlock, and there's a set that gives you custom kill animations. So, that's sort of neat. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if you like Critical Role and you like Amogus, there you go.
Honestly, again, I don't suggest finding a group of people to do mod.
I don't particularly enjoy Amogus. I don't really also like Critical Role that much anymore.
I don't know.
So this ain't really for me, but I feel
I never watched Critical Role.
It's mostly that the episodes are 5 hours long, and I ain't got time for that.
Yeah, like... That's kind of one of those things is, I think that's why I never really got into it either.
My preferred is World of Io or High Rollers, because their streams are much shorter.
Like, honestly speaking, like, I haven't really sat down and watched a lot of other TTRPG content in a while, like people like live plays. I occasionally pick up like one-shots or something here and like, clips and stuff. But like to actually sit down, like the last time was years ago, and even then it was like, like a 2 or 3 hour time. It's still a pretty big commitment, and it's fun, but you still have to have that time for it. And there's so many shows now.
Yeah.
You have to find the one you like too. And I think Critical Role, it has some popularity to it still, but it's also like it's not the same as it was.
Critical Role walks so others could run, my opinion on it. We probably wouldn't have D&D streaming tools for Critical Role.
Yeah. So, it's good there. Okay, cool, collab.
Yeah, for me, I think my big turnoff, I don't really like the D&D things with a bunch of production in them. I like the ones that are more down to earth. Because I'm totally down listening, because, my job's boring, so I just listen to things for hours. So it's like, that 5 hours doesn't bother me, because I can be doing other things while I'm listening. But where I sit is just, I don't know why, but like the high production value just makes me feel like, I don't know, just off-putting to me. It's like I get it, and honestly I'd like to do the same at some point, but it's like maybe not quite the same, but yeah, I don't know. That's just my personal thing. Is just like, it doesn't feel that personal sense that D&D feels with that I like.
I watched for Critical all of campaign 1 and 2, which I watched them as they were airing. I cannot watch campaign 3. I just can't. I get bored. I just can't watch it.
So, moving on a little bit, because we do have something to keep an eye on if you're interested. Interestingly enough, I wanted to talk about this because we do know more information on it. I think we talked about that they were going to be doing a Welcome to Nightvale RPG last year a little bit at some point because they talked about it. We now know they're going to be using the Essence 20 system, which is the system that Renegade uses for its properties like Transformers, G.I. Joe, Power Rangers, and My Little Pony. I knew Renegade did those games. I did not know a lot about the system they used. That's the best I can say about it. So, it's going to be using that system. If you've tried it out before, you know about it. If not, you can probably look into the Essence 20 system and get an idea about it. This is a little article about it. It has a link to the backer kit, which is launching in 44 days for it, beginning on October 1st. It just is a refresh if you're unaware. It's a podcast that is presented as an in-universe talk show.
Yeah, don't talk as long as you don't talk about the dog park or look at the dog park.
All right then.
I've listened to a chunk of them. I don't know. I just couldn't listen to it continuously, but it's fun to go to every now and then. But honestly, after watching,
I have never in my life
listened to it. If you see strange figures in the dog park, do not look at them.
It's one of those ones that I've heard about even before this, but I never really dove into it.
I have friends who like it. I've never given it a go because I'm bad at listening to things.
The thing about it also is...
my job's boring.
Yeah. Renegade, they're fine. They've done a bunch of decent TTRPG-related stuff. I don't know if I've heard necessarily super great things about their other licensed Essence 20 systems, but I haven't heard very bad things about them either. I think it's fine. So just the mechanics of the system, that kind of side of thing. I think they do a decent job of putting out material for them. So it's, hey, cool. We now know a little bit more now that we're a year on from their announcement almost, At least we have a date and you can keep an eye on it if you're interested. So
yeah, I mean, the thing I find interesting is it's kind of like a weird setting, but there isn't as far as I'm aware, it's more of a world that you'd play in than because Cthulhu has set mysteries and you kind of know what kind of mysteries you're going to be getting into, but this would be the mysteries exist, everyone seems to know, but also I'm just curious how that's going to play. What's going to be kind of the standard go-to for a game in Nightvale?
They'll probably come up with an idea for some kind of basic direction to go in, because I assume most of the other RPGs they've had theoretically have a direction to go for. I would not be surprised if they have because most of them Transformers, G.I. Joe, Power Rangers at least are very good versus evil ones. I would not be outside my realm of thinking would you be able to play a other side game for any of these?
What is
Transformers, you'd be Decepticon, G.I. Joe, you'd be Cobra, Power Rangers, you'd be whatever Power Rangers season enemy you'd have,
I'm trying to remember, what is it, Sandshire or something? There's a rival town that they hate. Everyone in Nightvale hates.
Oh, you're speaking for the other town. Okay. That kind of thing.
That's actually a thing. It's all those bastards won the the high school football game.
Well, I mean, like, in this case, I don't think it's got some cut and dry, so it's a little bit more open. But, you know...
Yeah, honestly, like, I could see it more going the Cthulhu route, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like, you're literally just trying to save your town from, like, the weird mysteries.
Yeah, because it looks like you have, like, they've got, like, example NPCs and example, like, things, because they have, like, a deer there with 2 heads and pictures. Of this picture of the I guess this would be, like, the base / starter set.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I mean, to be fair, a lot of weird stuff happens with the freaking school. So,
options.
I wouldn't be surprised if there's a student element there.
We talked about this a while ago, but I did want to have us talk about it just for a second more. The Replicant Rebellion from Blade Runner RPG is getting a late pledges for Kickstarter, which is always nice.
That is nice.
Yeah. It's just basically if you miss the Kickstarter and you still want at least some part of the deal for it, you can get it before the official release. So, you know, usually when you see these kind of things, it feels like it's been a very successful Kickstarter. They're like, hey, we'll also do some late pledges if you just want some more stuff and we can just offer more things. We were very successful. Hurrah. So, yeah. And it's definitely like, they're saying that, in front of their official release, the backers, including late pledges, will at very least get the PDF version. So if you want it a little earlier than the official release, you can look into the late pledge yourself if you're interested in this. Again, it's more support for their Blade Runner RPG, which seems like it's Free League. They do a good job on a lot of these things, so another pretty good RPG company to shout out. Either of you want to add anything on that?
Runner.
Great movie.
Here's the weird thing about it. I've probably seen most of Blade Runner, but I've never sat down and seen the entire thing in one sitting.
Very good movie.
I've like caught parts of it on like old VHSs where we had recording of it, where I just happened to be like, you know, I didn't want to like play around fast forwarding or something because I was working on something. Like I fast forwarded most of it and I saw it by the end. And then I caught portions of it throughout the years on TV, which makes sure I have no idea which edit it is, because most of them do tend to show up on TV at different time periods, and so I have a mess of what I've seen from later on. But I get them. I know most of what basically happens in the story. Is what it is, you know?
Yeah, I mean, so Blade Runner is a great movie. There's a great anime for it as well, called Black Lotus, that I highly recommend. It's just overall a good franchise. The sequel to Blade Runner is good, but I don't think as good.
Yeah. Alright, and then one small topic to mention.
The sequel's the, 2049 or whatever, right?
2049, yeah.
Yeah, 2049.
It's good, but it's not as good as the original. In my humble opinion. Although the director did go on to make both Dune movies, which are very good.
Yeah. Okay. One last small topic to talk about before we dive into our deeper discussion topic of yes. And this was an interesting lots of stuff. So this was an interesting thing that I saw that's coming out on the 24th. Maybe you'd be interested in it. The Dungeon Meister's Book of RPG Trivia with 400 epic questions and quizzes for your friends and foes. I mean, again, these are cute little things. It's RPG trivia. Is it going to be very deep trivia? But it might be neat to kind of have as a thing to use for fun, something or other, you know? It's... Stuff like this is interesting, you know, and definitely has a place out there, so I don't mind a good trivia book or stuff like that, so I haven't gotten one in years, but, you know. Anyway, so yeah.
It's interesting that D&D lore is referenced in Stranger Things. I wonder if they... Whoa, what happened to my camera? I wonder if they have to pay royalties.
Probably to a degree. I think it's one of those...
It depends what imagery they're using, I suppose. Oh, for Stranger Things? Yeah.
They do their, like, they talk about it, but they didn't do their own
So the thing
imagery.
is, they just use the names.
Yes.
And then they showed, like, they'll show some old D&D product.
Yeah.
So I assume they've just, like, bought a license.
Probably.
Well, I don't know. That is actually an interesting question. What they do what they had to pay to use the names and stuff.
It's also a weird thing to say because, like, it's unfortunate that Stranger Things has had, like, a weird effect in some ways on the D&D landscape, and this is just a weird little complaint I have. I was talking about earlier this week. If you missed one of my videos that I recorded, I did a video on Ravenloft and the Dark Lords of Ravenloft. Guess who was the Dark Lord of Ravenloft for a time period? Vecna. Yep. Guess how easy it is to find, like, newish art for Vecna from 5e? No, because you find, like, things related to Stranger Things, or the Dead by Daylight Vecna.
Yeah.
So I just went for, like, 3rd edition Vecna imagery, because I'm just like, fuck this, I'm not gonna deal with this shit.
I don't think the 5th edition imagery for Vecna's that good anyways.
No. Like, it was this cool imagery of, like, Vecna as kind of, like, almost like a pure skeleton, except he's got, like, a spectral hand and eye, because he lost his hand and eye, which is kind of cool looking. I like it, like he's, like, he's a lich, but he's, like, so decayed away that he's just almost bones. Like, it's just kind of, like, most creepy in a lot of ways for, like, a action god. You know? That's why I like the way he's portrayed in television.
He's voiced by Matthew Mercer.
And one of the things that came up is Jamie Campbell from Stranger Things in the costume, just sitting in a chair drinking like a Starbucks.
Yeah, well, that image is going around for a while. It's pretty good.
And I'm like, I love that.
I love this behind-the-scene photos of people in monster costumes. They're always very funny.
Yeah, no, agreed. I 100% agree.
So, all right.
I mean, there is one official thing, and that's the book cover of Vecna, Eve of Ruin.
Yeah.
So, are we ready to talk about everyone's favorite thing? So, yes, we're going to be chatting. I'm going to link this here for everybody that's ready for this here. There's a nice link here. This is the main one that we're going to be referencing. It's one that I found out about the other day. And I just haven't had a chance. I've looked over it a little bit. I haven't had a super deep dive into it. But this is basically a very good, over on RPG Bot, they have a very good kind of like change log of stuff in the new player's handbook. So it's a very good transition guide, change log, and a lot of information. This isn't the only discussion that's out there. I have seen a lot of people talk about different things, which I will try to reference, some of which are here.
Oh, good. Bloodied was reintroduced. I'm very happy about that. It's a very useful tool.
Yeah. So.
Sorry, that's the first thing I noticed.
Yeah. Things like there's been talk of changes in spells, some wording issues, which I think Nerd Immersion was getting into a bunch of times in a bunch of his videos over the past time. He's been talking about a lot of the smaller changes in individual videos. Because he can't do full reviews because of the embargo stuff related to all the massive problems, which we talked about last week. So, yeah.
I'll just tell you this, Chatterino. When a company gives you a review product and says you can't talk about it, it's usually not a good sign.
That's not really what they did, but...
I mean, yeah, there was some issues with the, like, way they rolled out the embargoes and stuff like that.
Yeah, and the issue was a bunch of miscommunication, both between Hasbro and Wizards, and then Wizards and other people. Wizards basically changed the goalposts several times, which means people had to keep up, or else they could make mistakes.
And apparently
Hasbro got none of that and just started like banning things.
Fair enough.
Yeah, they reported on like people putting out stuff over on YouTube.
So there was 2 levels of miscommunication, which is why it's like the idea is if you want to, don't. Because
But here's
you're
the other thing though that
it's
seems to
probably
be going
fine
around
now if you
now.
like look at the more
Actually,
recent info.
no. Here's the
is
thing
there
to
something
talk
new
about.
this week.
There is a little bit to talk about. It seems as though Hasbro is still being Hasbro / D&D is being very anal about this kind of stuff, even to the extreme degree. Basically, now people are aware of it at very least, so content creators are aware of what they can do because they put the guidelines out, and they put again, strict guidelines, not a problem. It's out there, but apparently because, and this is a thing that's going to happen, there are full leaks of the book online because of the ones they sold already, and D&D and Hasbro are not happy about that and are being very anal about that when they should have expected the shit because they released it at Gen Con already.
Yeah, I don't know why they thought it was a good idea to release it so far in advance.
Yeah. So, this is a thing that is going on. They're being very anal about that entire thing. But again, at least content creators are aware of enough stuff like they have their guidelines done. So it sounds like at least content creators most of them are skating by and being okay. Again, I think that's another reason why, watching some of the videos of Nerd Immersion talking about some of these things, he uses, maybe one little excerpt of a page, if anything. He, shows nothing of the book and just talks about it most of the time. Because he can't show it. Because he's trying to avoid showing a lot of stuff. He knows how to game the system, as it is now, but it's a difficult system to game. So I think that's the one thing to kind of put in here. It's one of those things of, it's a mess on that end. I don't think it was enough to chat about that as its own topic though, because it kind of links to last week. It's just now they're pissed off because people are posting it online. I mean, it's technically illegal they're posting it online, so yeah. Understandable, but they're being very anal about it. Anyway, changelogs. I have a couple other places that I've got information from, so there's some other things to talk about with this, but this is going to be our main reference point now. And I think one of the things I wanted to kind of reference first is, hey, they mentioned jack shit about actual backward compatibility, other than backgrounds and species. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, when they were showing it off, they mentioned that there was one sidebar, and I'm like, oh, that's not good.
Yeah. They mentioned backgrounds and species, because again, I guess those are the two things that mechanically most for characters are completely different. Species no longer have ability score-ups, they're now tied to backgrounds, and backgrounds, they're just assign some scores and choose an origin feat, call it a day.
Lazy.
Yeah. You do the work. We don't have actual... I'm sorry, that is not conversion rules. That's you do the work if you want to use it. Which is not necessarily bad, because sometimes conversions like that.
The custom background rules that exist in the old Player's Handbook are just better. Just use those if you want a custom background.
Yeah. I think you can still do the extras that 5e... 5.5, you want to use that,
Lightning says, they do still have the classic backgrounds there.
Yeah. And again, if you just want to put in, they've got your ability score now, they've got your, an origin feat, sure, cool.
I just noticed that spellcasters no longer get level plus modifier, they just get a set amount, which is...
Yep.
Why?
That's a dumb change.
I kind of agree. It's you're already getting stuff, you're already, prioritizing your spellcasting.
I think I want to point out a few of my other points before I get into this article more for a second. Just because I want to talk about a few of the other little articles I saw. For one thing, again, this was an article I saw that talked about Shocking Grasp. Okay. Well, you may say, well, why would you talk about Shocking Grasp? It used to be when you got hit by Shocking Grasp, you couldn't take reactions.
Yep. It was
in the new version, in the new version, it's you can't take attacks of opportunity. Which again, it's a design change, and it seems as though they're planning on having monsters have more reaction abilities.
Yeah.
So you're not. So again, that's not necessarily a bad change, but it is a change that you have to understand. It does seem like the system is got a lot more reactions built into it now, both from monsters and players.
That doesn't bother me, because the design purpose originally was an escape spell.
I think I agree. I think it's fine. It's an interesting direction. I think it's just something that, design-wise, you should be aware of that nowadays, which I don't know if they talk about that very well. That reactions are more important in the newer version for both monsters and players. Something that's going to be popping up more.
Well, reactions in, at least on the player setting, there aren't really a lot of them in 5e. You get some reaction spells, attack of opportunity, and that's Monk gets some stuff for reaction-based things.
It seems like, because this article had looked at stuff, it seems like there are more options and characters.
Fighter ones have the AOP as a base, and I feel like things like fighters and monks, they expect you to use AOPs, which is probably why they don't give you a ton of others. Although, you want to know what's interesting? And I didn't realize this until, honestly, I was reading through the Pathfinder books recently, and that is that AOPs are no longer a guaranteed reaction. Like, not everyone gets them in Pathfinder 2e.
No, not everybody gets attacks opportunity. It is something that is a lot more limited. Like, fighters get it, and then it's something that not all the monsters get either. I think that's both good and bad. I actually, like, playing through 2nd edition and not having, like, attacks of opportunity constantly be a threat was actually kind of nice, I'm not gonna lie.
I agree. No, I actually expect that to be nice.
Where it's either the creature or player has the training to do that, to take advantage of the situation.
No, I actually 100% agree. I think it's better. I also like how counterspell is not a spell, it's an ability.
Let's see here. Anyway, there's some, like...
Just a sidetrack on AOPs.
There's probably talk of a couple of spells that have problems with them. I might not dive into that too much right now. Sort of like, that's something to keep for another day. I think both, I think Neuromergent pointed out, like, there's a spell that you can, like, set up stuff to, like, nuke a creature, but it's, like, a setup kind of spell. So it's not necessarily going to work. I think D&D Shorts talked about how, like, clerics now, with their, like, divine intervention, can just cast a spell as an action, no matter how its casting time is. So there's, like, one of those, like, massive, like, was it, like, Hollow or something that takes forever to cast? You can just cast as an action and just screw over, like, an enemy or something now. So, horrible stuff like that they just don't think about. Alignment's still there. That's a note to have. Stunned creatures can now move. That's a fun thing.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Say that again.
Stunned creatures can now move.
I feel like you should just rename the condition.
Yeah, I mean, that's more of a dazed than a stunned.
That feels like stun is powerful. I won't say it's not. That feels like a weird naming issue at that point.
Yeah, like I said, I'd probably call that dazed at that point.
Well, effectively, it's the same, like, condition as it was before. They just removed the can't move from the language. So it does everything it did before. It incapacitates, which incapacitates just doesn't say you can't move. It just says you can't take actions. And move is technically not an action.
So that means, in my humble opinion, though it's not written, you still wouldn't be able to move.
But again,
because
they don't say that anymore.
It's an action to move, and incapacity is an action you can't take.
I think the thing is, technically speaking, the way 5e talks about is moving is not an action kind of thing, according to how 5e talks about it. We think of it as an action because we have, like, RPG players' brain. But I'm just saying, like, because they don't say that anymore.
Stupid.
It's stupid. They removed 2 words that they didn't need to remove.
This is the main thing I've seen, is that there is a big language issue in this edition.
Yes.
No, so incapacitated specifically prohibits actions, reactions, and bonus actions, not move actions.
That's what I mean. It doesn't say moving incapacitated. And then stunned used to say can't move, but now doesn't say can't move.
Still, I know stun is strong, but I feel like allowing a stun creature to move is kind of dumb.
I will also preface this. Something that, says that this is probably a mistake, maybe, that we might get errata for. Stunning Fist, now, because you can only do it once a turn, if they make their save, they have half movement.
Yeah, I feel like it's a printing issue for the first printing, or the press printings they put out.
Again, we might get a lot of... I think I said in my Discord, there's probably a lot of language that we might get a lot in, because it does sound like there's so many, like, things that we don't know if it was meant to be a thing, or if it's just printing mistakes.
The more I hear
there's so many of them.
Again, the more I hear about this, the more it just feels like it literally just wasn't fully baked. It literally just needed a little bit more time to cook.
I so agree with you.
Like, honestly, like, everything here, I feel like, has so much potential if they just had a little bit more time to just really solidify everything.
Just to go with the other things, I linked a bunch of these videos in my chat for nerd immersion stuff just to comment on them. They do have stuff for starting at higher level campaigns, including the magic items you get. That's a plus. Information like, you know, like, these are the magic items your player should have for starting at this level. Again, high plus. That's a really good thing to be in here.
Yeah, having high level support is nice.
But then there was the one from earlier today and the one from the other day of, now you can technically cast multiple spells on a turn, because the language says, for when casting a spell, you can't cast more than one spell that uses a spell slot on a turn. So if you have an ability from like a class or a species that gives you a spell that doesn't use a spell slot, you could theoretically use that with another spell.
I kind of like that, honestly, personally.
I think that, actually, that one I think is kind of an interesting kind of twist on it. It's not terrible. That's kind of like in a, it's fine. I think that, but that's a thing to point out, just so people know about it, you know. And then,
it actually gives, in my opinion, a lot of use to things like a racial Misty Step.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does. Yeah, you could Misty Step and then cast like as your racial ability, and then do a normal spell after you do it, or do it and then Misty Step away. So again, with the build as it is, you can make a character that has 4 attacks at level 5, and this is just normal build stuff. Dual wielding. Apparently, Nick weapons as a weapon mastery can give you an extra attack. And,
yeah, the weapon masteries are bad, in my opinion, because they're not very well thought out.
But apparently, also, the way that attacks talk about it, you can 2-weapon fighting with 1 hand. You don't need 2 hands to 2-weapon fight.
Like,
that's the video from earlier today.
I'm just like, how did you make a version of D&D that has more bad ruling than 5e already? How do you do that? 5e is already so vague and bad on a lot of rulings. How do you do a worse one?
Specifically, the abilities here that talk about, like, you know, the dual wielding and stuff. It just says you have to make an attack with a different light weapon. Okay, and then apparently, according to the attack rules, you are allowed to switch weapons in between attacks. Apparently, like, the idea of it, I think it's supposed to be a fighter gets multiple of those weapon masteries, can take advantage of multiple ones in a turn. But the examples that were given in the video earlier today that I linked in my Discord could be like, I switch like from a scimitar to a dagger, and they're both light weapons, so I can get all my attacks for dual wielding with 1 hand. Or I think the silliest one is, if you have multiple attacks, because crossbows have that loading things, you just switch out multiple crossbows if you're technically not loading them.
Everyone who asks me in my games why, when I make custom stuff, I'm so specific on wording. This is why I'm so specific on wording.
Like, okay.
Yes.
Anybody
I've
that is saying...
my friend who's like been like making this game, I've literally helped him with wording so much. I'm like, your wording is terrible.
Also, to be fair, the drop in the crossbow thing, that works in normal 5th edition. It's silly, but it is a way you can shoot 2 crossbows. However, then you just have to load 2 crossbows now. So you've really made your next turn more complicated.
I think the way that it's worded now means that you could do that and technically have loaded it.
In 5th edition, I played a character who used pistols. I had 6 pistols on me. I was a fighter. I just kept pulling out pistols and shooting things instead of reloading them, because this was before the gunner feat existed.
There's one thing that I just caught on that's actually kind of fun, and that is that drawing a thrown weapon is part of the thrown weapon action.
That is a
Thrown
good
weapons
change.
Are actually useful.
That is a good.
I think it's the idea because you can just, as part of an attack, you can draw and use a weapon. You know, it's the same for thrown weapons too.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that means, well, but that's the thing is like before that I think restricted you to one attack.
No, just make throwing weapons worth using, please.
Apparently, 2-weapon fighting works with thrown weapons, so you can throw with 2 hands.
All right. Let's get back to that main article that I linked before. I wanted to add those little things here. So, just some notes. You got bloody back from 4E, which
Good.
is
It's a term I
Good.
always use in D&D.
Same.
I like it too. You're at it's a good way of judging health for something without having to tell people
It also
it's
allows for a
bloody.
lot of
bloodied abilities.
Yeah.
it also allows for a lot of monster abilities to
Yeah.
have a trigger.
Yeah. Like, you know, maybe it gets some kind of bonus when it's bloody, you know?
When at half
like-
HP, it is under the effects of rage.
Or when it's at half HP, its breath weapon immediately recharges.
Yeah.
So that way a dragon can get 2 breath weapons instead of usually just 1.
We got more. Let's see here. D20 test describes any ability check, attack,
I
or
think
saving
that's
throw.
fine. That's just terminology standardization.
Just terminology, just standardization. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they like when they were originally talking about this, they talked about standardization of language, but then they screwed up like how they used it.
Yeah.
It was a great idea, but then you did not use it consistently.
Yeah. I think this one's fine. Class spell lists are in the class descriptions and
Thank
include
God.
notations for ritual and concentration.
That's actually
lists.
good because it's really annoying playing a spellcaster with a physical book.
Yeah, because you then have to Granted, you still would have to flip to another area to see what the spells do, but you can at least look at a general list of spells.
To flip through a different part of the book.
Yeah. Now you only have to go 2 parts of the book instead of 3.
Kind of halfway through the damn book.
Actions that are magic are as magic actions now, so they define them specifically.
Okay, that's not an issue.
Let's see here. Expertise is now used both as a feature that grants expertise and as a term that means add double your proficiency bonus.
They're already kind of doing this with Tasha's.
Index now contains every item, spell, feat, spell, etc. in the book. So now they list everything that's actually in the book!
Yeah, that was a big issue with the old ones.
Yeah. And they got a rules glossary that's...
Rules glossary is always good to have.
Yeah. Let's see here. They now specifically say you can choose to fail a saving throw if you want to.
Okay.
Apparently they didn't say that before.
No, you
Wait, say that again?
So it's actually... Sorry, you go ahead.
Before, apparently, if you wanted to fail a saving throw on purpose, you couldn't.
Yeah, failing a saving throw on purpose is a home rule. It's a home rule.
I just didn't hear what you said.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
It's probably one of those home rules most people use without realizing it's a home rule, like the bonus action recomposition.
We've talked about the heroic inspiration changes before.
Completely fine.
Use after a die roll to immediately roll it, and then the actions. They're defined more in the common actions. Apparently, hide still is kind of weird because there is. I like the line is "This is stupid and I hate it." It's written in this thing here. It's now DC base 15 to successfully hide. Yeah. So so it's a base DC to hide now.
Yeah.
Wow. So yeah, if you're God, that is very ridiculous.
It's a choice. I would just the way I do hide is it's always a roll for when I have a rogue who's doing a hide check. For me, it's passive perception, but no, it's not that anymore. Yeah, it's not that. I guess it's the DC 15 though.
Now it's just a DC 15,
which I don't like set DCs.
Yeah. And there's search and study actions. They define them more. Let's see here. Grappling is under unarmed strikes.
Fine.
Opportunity attacks have changed from a hostile creature to a creature you can see. I guess it just means that it doesn't necessarily have to be hostile at the time, I guess, for some reactions.
Need to see the full wording of opportunity attacks to really have an opinion on that.
Mounted combat is apparently the exact same. So, hurrah! I guess if you use mounted combat, it's still just as bad as it was before.
I feel like, yeah, I don't know anyone who's ever done mounted combat in 5e.
So, for surprise, if a combat is surprised by combat starting, that combat has disadvantage for their initiative roll. So,
I don't like this 2-weapon fighting is no longer limited to melee weapons, specifically because if they don't change how hand crossbows work, this is disgusting.
Yeah. It's just light weapons.
Because before you had to take like 2 feats to do it, now you can just take 2-weapon fighting.
I mean, I guess on that one, that's definitely like...
That's a bad change.
Yeah. The surprise, I think it's fine. You're just not. You're less impacted by surprise. It's just a change.
Yeah.
So unarmed strikes now either deal damage, grapple, or shove. Apparently.
Fine.
That's fine. Just combine that together. Now allows the target's choice of dex or strength save. No more opposed athletics.
Being a save, I think, is also okay.
Yeah. Especially because saves are more common than action.
Yeah, most people don't have athletics. Fun fact, athletics is probably the least chosen ability in the game because it's bad to be a strength character. You get 2 skills, I think, and that's it. And
okay, I didn't realize that this existed within the old rules, but I love how it says, no longer allows you to use the same hand to grapple multiple creatures.
Yes, that was a rule oversight, which was really... really bad that needed updated because you could keep grappling people.
Oh god. And the shove also is no
obviously a DM wouldn't allow you to do that.
I know, but it's
like it's a funny thing in the rules.
Hey, you can lock picks with sleight of hand.
Hey,
now.
that's fine. That's how I fucking rule it if you don't have thieves tools.
Yeah. God. And because apparently in the entry, it has DCs for pick a lock, disarm a track.
Hey, you know how I'm...
The entry for locks.
Hey, you know,
okay, so... Oh, cool, okay. Okay, so specifically, they put those DCs under Thieves' Tools, but if you see the entry for locks, it says a creature with Thieves' Tools can pick a lock with successful DC 15 dexterity sleight of hand check. So it does define that those are DCs defined by Thieves' Tools, but they are for sleight of hand dexterity.
You know what else is really good for opening doors? A big hammer.
I'm also going to say, seeing this combination of the way that they put this here is really horrible and confusing.
Yes.
Just seeing this picking the lock section where you have to see, like, it mentions stuff under Thieves' Tools. It says it has an ability score, but then under locks, it says, you know, you're using sleight of hand check. But you're using the Thieves' Tools. So it's sort of like...
What is dexterity weight? Oh, it's built... Okay, that's just formatted weird. Sorry, my brain was like, what the hell does dexterity weight mean?
Yeah.
Okay, there should be a semicolon there.
There should be a semicolon there. There is not a semicolon there. Yes. Mm-hmm.
What's this new term they've added to D&D? Dexterity weight. Is this Dark Souls 3?
So, yeah, you know, it's... This is kind of a mess, I think.
Yeah, I feel like there's going to be a lot of this kind of thing.
It's like they had a really good idea for improving this. Like, you can do things with sleight of hand without having Thieves' Tools, but Thieves' Tools gives you 2 extra abilities when using sleight of hand. But they don't define that very well until you get to the goddamn entry for locks. It's so bad. We no longer have traits, ideals, bonds, or flaws.
It's like removing those. I think those are fun to get an idea of what you're gonna play.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't always use them, but like it was fine when I did. You know, I think it's kind of one of those things of like something like that as an option to help with creating your actual character is good. You know, but I don't know if they put anything in place.
Gives the DM something to go off to.
Yeah.
For what to expect from you.
The sheet's been reformatted.
The new sheet, actually, I think I've seen the new sheet. It looks pretty nice.
So you start with class, then background, species, then ability score you're supposed to do with, which is
literally not how I do characters.
Yeah.
Class is the last thing I pick, usually.
normally my direction is ability score, species, class, then background. I usually go in the order of the book.
I usually do species first, background, class. Class is always my last pick thing.
Again, I think it just like I usually just go depending on the book too. But I can understand that too.
Because I when I'm building a character, I'm already making the backstory, so I just go in that order of operation.
Well, thank you, Lightning. The new sheet looks nice, but sucks ass.
Oh
on
yeah,
Roll20.
the Roll20 sheet, the new one, it for players, great, amazing. It has some issues with automation. For DMs, it sucks because it's still like 2 weeks old. It's still in open beta, I think.
Okay. Positive for multi-classing. Paladin Ranger, round up when determining spell slots.
Yeah, that's
you know
good.
what? That's pretty good.
I don't know why you'd ever mix these two together with other stuff, because they're stronger on their own, but go for it.
Yeah.
Well, I know why you do Paladin. I know why you do Ranger with something.
They listed base proficiency in a nice colored table for core classes, making it easier to see at a core glance. Positive.
Fair.
Let's see here. They have a Becoming an X section, which details what you get at level 1. The level 19 ability score now either lets you choose an epic boon or another feat. Right. Classes which previously learned spells permanently now have them permanently prepared. It's a wording change.
Fine. Well, I don't know if I actually like that or not.
Yeah, because it's not they don't have them permanently, they're permanently prepared. Which, unfortunately, I think is an interesting wording change, because if there's stuff that could mess around with your ability to prepare stuff, would it mean it goes away permanently?
I don't know if I like that wording.
Yeah. Class no longer get level plus modifier prepared spells. It's now a fixed number based on
That's
your class level.
dumb.
Yeah. Full casters typically get 22 at level 20.
So I'm going to circle back to the class no longer. So the reason why this is dumb is functionally for all of D&D's history, really, at least since 3rd edition. You were rewarded for having higher casting mod, or your higher casting ability, by more spells, and not just your DC. Removing that, it's kind of dumb, because it means a super smart wizard is going to have the same amount of spells as a baseline dummy wizard.
Yeah.
It also de-incentivizes actually getting as high of a spellcasting modifier as you can, because I actually find it more valuable to have more spells prepared at once than it is to have a higher DC, because ultimately, like, monsters kind of get like a lot of legendary resistances and defenses and stuff. So it's like, in the end, it's like you're gonna hit sometimes, but it's like that +1 from getting a 16 to an 18 is like less useful than the extra spell you have prepared. That's an extra option for you to cast.
Yeah.
This is it's a change that makes casters worse altogether.
Yeah.
It depends on how much, like, if the average is, or if what they give you is higher than what you used to get, then that, with like a 18.
I would have to pull out. Let me pull out my full
where are we looking?
We're at the classes section currently.
We're at the classes section. Just the top here. We're the general class section. I'm gonna look up Druid here and see how many spells you get at 20th level, just for a second here, because the typical classes case you get 22. Okay, 4, 8, plus another 6 is 14, plus another 6 is 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So a 20th level druid would get 26 spells normally. Oh, actually subtract 4, 22 spells, because 4 of those are cantrips. I'm sorry, I added cantrips in there. So it's the exact same number of spells they had before. Theoretically.
Yeah.
Exact same number.
I think it's more an issue for, like... I'd have to look at classes, because I assume Wizard still gets, like...
Wizard gets more.
Some nice bonuses, because...
Okay, so it's a level plus modifier, and casters get 22 at level 20. Meaning that assumes you have a modifier of +2. Meaning it assumes you have a skill of like 16. Or,
but
sorry,
I think,
14.
I think they just have a set number now, based on.
Well, yeah, but a full caster gets 22 at level 20. That means what was previously level plus modifier,
Yeah.
assume 20 plus 2.
Oh,
Basically
meaning
gives you
you
the
have a 14.
baseline, kind of what you need to be functional as this class. And
Again, like
nothing further, which I dislike.
again,
Same. If it was 28, I would be totally down. You know, like
yeah, because
I
that
like 24. You know,
yeah. Sorry, 24. That's my sorry. I was thinking
24. I'd
18
assume you
is
was
still,
16,
and I said
which
28. Yeah.
honestly
Plus 4
speaking,
is what I was thinking.
24, 25, 26 in that range, which would have been like the normal. This is what I usually max out
Because
my stat to.
a lot of people don't really know this or really think about it. D&D isn't really designed, or at least 5th edition isn't really designed for you to have 20 in your main stat. It's more efficient to have an 18
I know.
and put that other +2 somewhere else to have a more balanced stats.
Yeah.
But a lot of people
Generally-
don't do that.
Yep.
Yeah.
It depends on your build too. Like
Yeah.
if you're literally a single stat build, then get a 20.
If you are like a sorcerer using twin spell to lock down dudes, you should probably have 20 charisma.
Who also has persuasion and
Yeah,
all those
right.
social skills. You know,
Honestly,
like there are builds where
Like a wizard
single
doesn't
stat is
need
good.
2018 or
So-
2028.
Here's the
No,
one
because
thing
int is
that
useless outside of spells.
they have gotten rid of, which is sort of like, I honestly, it's both fine, but I don't like that they did that. They're all subclasses now. They don't have fancy names anymore. Which is kind
Boring.
of just sad. Yeah, that's what I mean. It's boring. Like,
Boring
oh,
fact.
it's your barbarian's primal path. It's your bard's college.
These were
it's your
flavor
cleric's
things.
Yeah, that's
damn
what I
it.
mean. It was flavor. And
I can't make the joke that bards of college dead anymore.
Here's my thought though. It was always a little annoying.
That's
because you
kinda like
always
the
called
whatever
them
change.
archetypes.
That's
But
what I
in
mean.
some cases, it's like it makes consistencies, and I think this is actually very much someone who's new gets confused.
Yeah.
Would get
It's
confused
it's
about
good
why
for
is this a college?
standardization.
Yeah.
So
But
I think that's
I like the
actually a good-
flavor of them more, but I understand why they did it for simplification.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think
I'm
they
still going to
could've-
call them college
Same.
at school, right? But
Yeah.
I played D&D for too long.
The thing is, what they could have done is they could have had them all on a top level be called subclasses, but then also been like, your subclasses is your primal path or something in the description of the basic description before they describe all the subclasses, because they usually do that. They're like, they could just say in there, this is what it's also called if you want to
Well,
use that fancy
okay,
name, but it's just your subclass.
Okay, to be fair, the subclass names are still things like College of Dance, College
Yeah.
of Glamour.
Yeah.
So
True.
their names still reflect those, or Life Domain, Light Domain. So those
True.
Circle of the Land, Circle of the Moon. Yeah. So they're now they're still. I mean, what was Fighters called?
What was? That's actually an egg. Hold on, I'm going to look. I think it was martial archetype.
I think it was
Okay, yeah.
martial art.
Let me actually double check. I'll be playing one of these soon. I should know this. Martial archetype, yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So they're still referenced there, so you can still make the joke that they have college debt because they went to the College of
My
Valor.
god. I
Okay,
need that joke.
let's see here. Let's take a look at, I guess, Barbarian briefly.
Yeah,
for
Artificer's
the-
not in this book, which is understandable because it wasn't in the player's handbook anyways.
Yeah.
They have talked about Artificer. We might see it in the future, so they know that people really like it. They have talked about it, that they
Maybe
want to put it out at some point in time in an appropriate spot later on, so maybe part of another book in the future. After the
maybe just maybe they'll release a second a second class with Artificer.
No, yes, that's asking Wizards to do a lot of work.
Let's see here.
I really like how Pathfinder can make so many new classes with very unique feels and styles, feel very different, and also still have a whole bunch of archetypes and sub features, and Wizards can't come up with 2. They've only gotten 1 successful one.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, sorry, it
Okay,
just bothered me.
we can
There are
talk
so many
for
Options. That
we
they
can
just
chat for
don't
Barbarian for a minute here. I'll just kind of go over the list. Hey, stop me if there's anything over here you want to chat about. Rage is up to 10 minutes now.
Good.
Saving throw can also have you extend other than just taking damage, and bonus actions. can
Good
extend.
changes.
And damage applies to any strength-based attack, not just melee attacks, meaning you can do it with thrown weapons too. The bonus damage.
A thrown weapon barbarian actually is a very big possibility now, especially since I think you can take. Can you take style feats without like a thing? Because if you can, then they can get too
don't
fighting and
know.
I don't know. I don't actually know how they're doing that.
I do not know how they're.
Because I know they're
that.
feats now, but if you could pick them up, that'd be nice. And then a barbarian could have strength thrown, double thrown weapons.
Yeah, we can finally make the Baldur's Gate 3 throwing barbarian.
You can. Reckless attack now lasts until the start of your next turn.
Also
I didn't realize this either because you couldn't opportunity attack with reckless attacks. Now you can.
Ooh, good change.
And yeah, it now works with any strength-based attack, meaning you can reckless thrown weapons too. Again, that throne build working. Then we have the Primal Knowledge, which is an extra skill proficiency when you rage, and certain skills use strength instead of their normal ability score.
Fine.
The Instinctive Pounce, which allows you to move half your speed when you rage.
That's actually really nice because it basically just gives it allows your barbarian to get up close and personal a lot faster, which is honestly, especially since they generally have a speed boost as well. So it's like half your speed plus your speed bonus. And then you can still move and then attack. So you can very easily get into range, which is important when you have to attack to maintain your rage.
Brutal Critical's gone, and in place we have Brutal Strike, which you can sacrifice the advantage you get through Reckless Attack to either add damage, push a target, or reduce their speed.
I'm of the opinion this is good because Brutal Critical does the same thing as a feat.
Yeah. At 13 you get 2 more options, and at 17th you add another die of damage.
More or less.
Which
it's like
would allow you to do a lot of extra damage.
Yeah,
or add
Brutal
2
Strikes
effects.
is just better. It's a good ability.
Yep.
And then it's just the normal 20th level thing is pretty much what it is. High Adventure.
That's fine. Barbarian looks alright.
Let's see here. Path of Berserker. Frenzy is now a damage bonus on hit once each of your turns. No exhaustion. And Intimidating Presence works as a bonus action. Lasts up to a minute with repeated saves. Once per day for free. You can spend a rage to use again. Oh, I'm sorry. There was also you can get your rages back once per day.
That's like alright.
For basic. Wild Heart.
Wild Heart is Totem.
Yeah.
With some updates.
Can
Maybe it'll make it worth it to just not take Bear every time.
Yeah. They can speak. Apparently now you can cast Beast Sense or speak with animals as rituals.
Alright.
That's kind of neat.
Some utility.
Yeah. Rage of the Wilds instead of Totem Spirit, which you can change every time you rage. Which actually is nice because you're not a specific one then. Bear, list. There's a list of non-resistant damages.
Okay, so bear. I guess they were gonna say that originally it was gonna be you had to pick which damage type. I guess they now still made it a whole bunch, but they exclude psychic, force, necrotic, and radiant.
I'm gonna bring something important up. If you have played Karlach in Baldur's Gate 3, you have experienced this subclass already because it's almost 1-to-1.
What do you mean?
So Karlach is this subclass. Karlach is Wildheart in Baldur's Gate 3. If you played Karlach, like if you played with her, you've already experienced the subclass. Yes. And how it works. Well, so I think this is just a good change.
Yeah.
Okay.
Eagle, dash and disengage.
When you're raging is bonus action. Wolf now says allies instead of just friends.
Good change.
Yeah.
Friends was a weird wording, and I think it was like it says here, was it just a misprint most likely?
I didn't really
friends is not a term in D&D rules.
I haven't played enough barbarians, especially at this level, even level 6, to know that Aspect of the Wilds pretty much you just choose Tiger all the time. But now you can change it to Long Rest, which you can get a climb speed, a swim speed, or dark vision, or bonus dark vision if you already have it. Nature Spirit or Nature Speaker, which was Spirit Walker, mechanically identical. And Totemic Attunement now is Power of the Wilds, which can be changed every time you rage, which is a fly speed. The Totemic Attunement Bear is the lion, and then Ram is not going to be prone on hit, no save.
And the reason, and they did say this, the reason they made them different animals every time is so you didn't feel like you had to pick them, because it was something
Dark Vision is no longer grayscale. This is a weird change that I don't like.
Dark Vision's no longer a what?
Grayscale.
Dark Vision is no longer in grayscale. You see color now with Dark Vision.
Oh.
It's a mechanic a lot of people forget exists in D&D. That Dark Vision is
mean,
grayscale.
I actually generally will say, no, you cannot read that because you're using Dark Vision.
But, yeah, they changed that, which I dislike.
Because that's always been my thing, is that, like, you can't read a piece of paper because you can't see the distinction of colors easily. You can only see...
Like if it's like you know, like a white paper with very stark dark writing on or something, like a very stark white paper maybe, but like most paper, especially in olden days, would have been a little darker anyway, and the ink wouldn't have been that dark. We don't have our modern printing of jet white.
Personally, I see it more as you can see like shades and shadows. So
Path of World Tree's the new one. We're not going to get into that. It's not really changes. You can look into that.
That's brand new.
There's a link in the thing there. Divine Fury is unchanged for Path of the Zealot.
That's the changing Warrior of the Gods.
No longer has to be raised from the dead for free. Instead, you get a small pool of D12.
I understand why they've changed that, because it's kind of strong to just be like, he died. Oh no, anyways, I can cast this expensive spell for free on him and bring him back.
I think, honestly, though, I think it also created very annoying limitations. If you want to play Path of the Zealot and you didn't have someone who could cast a raise spell in your party,
it would be a dead feature.
Yeah. So.
You have a bonus to the reroll equal to your rage damage bonus to Fanatical Focus. The Zealous Presence allows you to use the feature by spending a rage. Okay, so it used to be long rest, but now you could give up a rage to use Zealous Presence again. I think that's fine. You know, if
amazingly, you still gain no benefit for using it. But I don't know.
The Rage Beyond Death is now Rage of the Gods, which grants you a fly speed when raging. Okay. That can be very helpful.
It's also just dumb subclass.
It's whatever.
Well, the Bard changes the ones I'm kind of upset about.
Alright, Bardic Inspiration. Inspiration now, dice now have a 1 hour expiration instead of 10 minutes, and die is used when they fail a d20 check, rather than allowing the option to use the die before.
Zealous Presence was, a once per day long rest, and it basically allows you to release a battle cry, and your choice of up to 10 creatures within 60 feet of your choice gain advantage on attack rolls until the start of your next turn. So it's literally just advantage for a round.
Very bad.
It's attack rolls, so it would be spell attack rolls as well, and melee, and so I think that's okay as long as it's like everyone pound this turn. It's very.
But again, like allowing possible extra uses of that seems a lot better because it's not that great on its own.
Yeah, I agree. Although I feel like it should have been, you get it back on a short rest, and you can expend a rage if you want to use it a second time. So
Bardic Inspiration for a bard, I think, is fine, honestly. Using the die, if you fail to save to make it a success, seems fine,
Okay.
Basically, you don't have to.
Don't have a real
issue
with that one
before you get a result. Yeah.
And lasting for an hour is nice. It's much better for
making it last for an hour is very nice.
Yeah. Now can change a cantrip when you gain a bard level.
I think that was a Tosh's thing, anyways.
Expertise is level 3 to 2.
Alright.
You can now spend spell slots to use Bardic Inspiration again. I think that's fine. Counter Charm now works as a reaction without spending your action to perform first. Okay.
Alright. Fair enough.
The second expertise moved to level 10. Magical Secrets, no longer a limited number of spells. From level 10 onward, you pick spells from the Bard, Cleric, Druid, Wizard spell lists, including when you retrain spells that you already knew. No more Paladin, Ranger, or Warlock spells. I understand why they said those three, because those three now have specific spells which are very specific to them, and they made things into spells. Yeah. So,
Basically stopping Bard from being able to magically secret smite from the paladin list is a good idea.
Yeah. And I guess more spell options, that's fine. Superior Inspiration moved from level 20, which now raises you 2 dice instead of just 1, and they get Words of Creation, which power word heal and kill prepared for free, and you can affect 2 creatures with both.
That's alright.
Yeah, so... okay, I do want to say, though, yes, I actually think I love Magical Secrets even more now, because of the fact that you can just pick. I really like high-level druid spells, but playing a druid to high level is really annoying in my opinion. Or playing a spellcasting druid is annoying, because I feel like they get a lot of really crappy low-level spells, but a lot of really good high-level spells.
Druid spells kind of mid early on.
Yeah.
We'll have to see how the list is when we can actually see the full list, which, I'm not telling anybody you can go looking for it out there. I would never say that, but I'm just saying. If you're curious,
read your legal copy of the book.
Yes.
Yeah, probably.
Or talk to a friend who has a legal copy, which can tell you stuff about it. Also, there's probably YouTube.
I'm too busy to find a legal copy of a friend online because I'm too busy planning for Pathfinder 2e. So I
feel like Bard is fine. There's not
Bard didn't really get a lot of changes that mattered.
Yeah, the Bardic Inspiration I think is a lot better. I do actually like the way they do that now. A little better. That you can give it someone, and then it's if they fail, they use it. If not, they don't waste the die. College of Dance is the new one. College of Glamour. Let's see here. Doesn't seem like there's a lot here. You can recharge their 6th level ability. Monthly Inspiration grants temper HP equal double your roll of Bardic Inspiration die rather than a fixed number. And you can get rid of Charm or Frighten a creature for free when you cast an enchantment or illusion spell. Okay.
I will say they do mention it, and I do like that the Glamour, Bard Glamour arc that did get changed to just being a Glamrock elf, which is very funny.
College of Lore. Now usable only on other creatures' ability checks, attack rolls when the checks are successful. No more using this before you officially know the results.
Yeah, so cutting words was when a creature attacks, you can give them Bardic Inspiration as a penalty. So basically now you can do it when they succeed versus when they
so similar to the rest of Bardic Inspiration.
Yeah. Rather than when they
Magical Discoveries, renamed from Additional Magic Secrets. It's again limited to Cleric, Druid, Wizard.
Yeah.
And Peerless Skills now also works on attack rolls. It will be used when you fail. College of Valor. Combat Inspiration is now more clear, but very little changes. Martial Training renamed from additional proficiencies. Allows you to use weapon as a spellcasting focus. Okay. An extra attack. Allows you to cast a cantrip with a casting time of 1 action, place them on attacks. Vicious Mockery and attack in 1 action. Okay, cool. I think again,
this is just Blade Singer's extra attack, which is fine.
Yeah.
It's actually which honestly, I think that's good. I actually really like those cantrips as part of an attack thing because that actually gives you a much higher damage boost, which makes you at your mixed combat spellcaster actually feel a little bit more powerful. Because like that's the thing is like I always now the one thing about wizards is that you have a cantrip, although that does kind of mean pure spellcasters don't have the same, okay, I'm down to cantrips. But honestly, level 6, you're fine. It's like, whatever.
Cleric, to go over this a little quickly. You've got a Divine Order, which allows you to either take Heavy Armor and Martial Weapon Proficiency, or you can take spells where you get an extra cantrip, and you can add your Wisdom modifier to Arcana and Religion checks. Cool.
Oh, okay.
Fine.
You can change your cantrips.
So you can finally compete with wizards on religious knowledge. I love that.
Finally roll your religion skill.
Yeah, I mean,
Hey, fun fact, I just allow wisdom. I just allow players to do that anyways because it's stupid that they can't.
I mean, I allow for the optional. Yeah, basically in my mind, that's the optional rule of allowing other attributes to affect skills.
You get now up to 4 channel divinities, and other than turn undead, you also have a heal ability as a basic one you can just do, where you can heal a creature at range.
Which is so nice, because it's like, yeah, I agree. It's like if you're not in an undead campaign,
This is more like Pathfinder's channel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know,
/ 3.5 channel.
It's another option for your channels, too. Yeah. Then now the Seer Undead, which inflicts Wisdom modifier D8 damage to undead who fail their save against turn undead.
Good one.
Which is better than Destroy.
Hey, fun fact, Destroy Undead just stops working at a certain level.
Yeah. I mean, well, I think it upgrades periodically, but it's...
The most it upgrades to is CR4. At the 17th level, you're not fighting many CR4 creatures.
Yeah, unless you're fighting a horde of minions, at which point, why did your DMs throw a bunch of CR4 creatures at you? You know they just die.
Blessed Strike's moved up a level. Now you choose. Now it's no longer tied for the element that it does to your your domain. Now it's either you could just choose if you do radiant or necrotic damage, but it doesn't scale anymore. It's just the D8. So it's fine. It's there.
All right.
Let's see here. Divine Intervention. Oh, that's the one I was talking about. Where you can cast a cleric spell 5th level lower as an action with no material components. So you can just raise dead or hollow once per long rest. Hollow, I think, was the one that was really gross, I believe, that they were talking
Hollow is
about.
pretty gross.
And you can just do that as an action.
Which usually takes 24 hours to cast Hollow normally.
Yeah. So, yeah. Man.
Let's see. Celestials, Fiends, Undeads, Celestials, Elementals, Fae, Fiends, and Undead can't enter the area. No.
Mm-hmm. You choose an extra effect.
Frighten or possess you. And,
you can make things...
An extra effect.
Hey, you can make all your enemies vulnerable to one type of damage.
Yeah. That's pretty gross.
Or silence them, or stuff like that. Or give all
Hey, are you fighting some kind of vampire creature? Just use your Divine Intervention to make it daylight in the area.
You know, they worked so hard to limit these kind of exploits for the wizards, like free spell, and now they just let cleric have it.
Hey, you know, this is a level 10 ability. You could turn Shroud's bedroom into a bright light zone.
The improved
Which is funny because what they restricted for the wizard was like level 17. And now they basically gave clerics a much better version.
Oh God, I'm just looking
10.
here. Okay. Let's finish up cleric here because I'm just seeing some stuff which just fills me with dread. Improved divine strikes. You can add a second D8 or grant temper hit points when you damage with a cantrip. Neat. Greater divine intervention. You can cast wish instead of the 5th level or lower cleric spell, but it adds 2 to 4 days of cooldown.
Like not good.
Just gonna add in wish.
Maybe wish you avoid that one, you know.
You can cast wish every 2d4 days
without any material components. Yeah,
so frequent.
To be fair, wish doesn't have a material component.
Yeah,
it does.
Just verbal.
Let's see here. Life domain's pretty much the same, but now it does more dice. Healing spells do more dice, so it's even better.
Better at healing.
Yeah. So it's like, it's even better because healing spells start off at a bit larger number. Flaming Sphere on Light Domain was replaced with See Invisibility. Guardian of Faith is replaced by Arcane Eye. Yeah. And Corny of Light now limits Wisdom modifier uses per day, but otherwise identical and still amazing. Oh, so they limited the Corny of Light too. They changed some spells to stuff and limited that.
Yeah, Corny of Light's really good. So it did kind of need a little bit of limitation.
I think I'll just leave it as Trickery Domain got a huge buff.
You mean Corona of Light? It's not Cornea of Light.
Yeah.
I did say Cornea instead of Corona.
Trickery got a huge buff, which is good because it was previously was ass.
Yeah.
And then Momo copied you.
War got some good changes to make it less mad.
Yeah. Druid. I wanted to speed up a little bit so we can get maybe... we're only spending like 2 hours here instead of 2.5. Let's hear. Druid. Weapon proficiencies are no longer a specific list. Now they're just simple weapons, which omit scimitars.
Sad.
So yeah. They've had scimitar proficiency forever, but there's really been a good reason for that to be the case. I agree with that one. It's kind of this weird thing of like, it was just so iconic that druids had scimitars, you know? I don't know, that's kind of a weird one.
Upsetting.
That doesn't bother me.
I mean, that's the other thing too.
Nice. It is, although it is nice that they had a weapon that was actually good on their list.
Yeah.
Although you're just gonna take a bonk stick.
Yeah, but Shillelagh makes that kind of useless anyway. So.
Yeah. Armor proficiency no longer includes medium armor, but they've also lost their prohibition on metal armor. So if you get armor proficiency, you can just have full plate now.
That's gross.
Yeah.
Honestly, like...
Oh, I mean, you have to take so many feats to get heavy armor proficiency. This doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I mean, I
does
kind
not
of agree.
However, I am sad that the druids no longer die when they touch metal armor.
Well, it's more just they lose all their powers, but yes.
Druidic now just gives speak with animals for free.
It makes Druidic actually useful as an ability rather than just being a language.
I was just talking about that last week, I think.
And I think
no, it was on
pre-game chat.
Wednesday.
Yeah, Wednesday.
Yeah, pre-game chat on Wednesday.
Apparently, rather than its own language, it's like you can have hidden messages that are just Druidic, and you can spot.
Yeah, they got rid of this, which is fine. It rarely came up as a language.
So, sorry, I did interrupt you, Ward. Were you going to say something about the armor?
Yeah, I was just going to say... Oh, yeah, about the armor. It's like... I kind of, like... The whole metal thing bothered me because it's like, you don't restrict it with weapons, but you restrict it with armor. It was just always weird to me.
That I agree on. It's a little weird. I also don't understand why it was there in some ways, but, there probably was a good, some kind of thing that someone said somewhere.
Druid is largely based off of the mythological idea of a druid, and that's why.
Yeah, it's the issuing,
issuing modern technology.
Modern tech, yeah. So, the idea of wearing metal armor is too technologically, it's not natural. It's made. It's forged.
Also, I think this could have been a cool chance for Wizard to be like, "Hey, here's some alternative materials for armor," but nah.
Yeah. Hey, druids are just clerics. They get a primal order. You could choose a cantrip and add your wisdom to Arcana and Nature checks, or proficiency in martial weapons and medium armor.
There was a thing a while ago that some of the druid abilities are just copy from cleric, which is a little sad.
The primal order I don't think logically makes sense very well with the nature of a druid either. That's just it kind of feels out of place with what they're still trying to do here. I don't know. Changing cantrips when you gain a level. Wild shapes reworked here.
Wild shape, good, no.
Bonus action for everyone rather than just Circle the Moon. You can use it again without returning to your original form. 2 yours is per short rest at level 2, scales to 4 per short rest. You're now limited to just 4 known forms. You can change one on a long rest, but it would take 4 days to replace all your forms.
That doesn't bother me.
Limited to 1/4 CR and no fly speed, but burrow and swim speeds are not restricted.
Although to be fair, I'll probably make that a short rest thing, because sometimes you just want a new form, because it's like preparing for spells. It's like, it's like, okay, I'll pick a small thing, a big thing, and a medium thing for different combat locations potential, or scouting for small, or so it's like you can still do that, but it's like realistically, especially since the fact that you just get it's okay. So you especially since I don't think you take on all of the attributes of the form now.
I think it's still wild shape as it was, pretty much in a lot of ways.
So
it doesn't say anything.
Get the attribute block.
Yes, because in the rework here, it doesn't say you don't, and I assume they just did that, because I feel they would mention it under the class guide. Let me check the class guide.
Yeah, I'm going to check the class guide, because I thought that was...
you were saying something, Momo, sorry.
If I was, I've forgotten.
Okay. It just sounds like it's just like it's just how it kind of was before. I think after all the controversy and things they were trying to change to, they just left this doing wild shape as it was. Pretty much.
The things they were doing didn't bother me because most of them were fluff and not like. Well, I mean, I understand in some cases where it's like I
thought the concept wasn't bad, but the execution for what they were in the playtest wasn't very well defined, and I think they could have fixed it. I think they could have stuck with it and come up with something very interesting.
So playing a shifter in Pathfinder basically makes me realize kind of the frustration about the idea of you can't pick like the animals and get all their abilities. Part of me is like, I only get these specific abilities, you know. I can't get anything else. That was honestly really annoying.
I think there is still some other changes that, like, you know, isn't mentioned necessarily here because Archdruid.
But the way
when you roll initiative, you gain.
Can I finish my thought?
Okay, go ahead.
But like the upgrade to 2E, where it's like you just kind of get some general ability upgrades, doesn't bother me as much because it's like it's built around it and it's good. Like the issue that bothers me in the other thing is just that it's like it just actively limits what you can do, whereas the other one is just you got a lot more options, but it's limiting, but it's not like so limiting towards it. Anyway,
the Evergreen Wild Shape, which is the Archdruid kind of thing, which got reworked here. It gives when you roll initiative, you get one Wild Shape instead of infinite uses, which probably was good because it was infinite HP, but now it does seem like you still use your HP in Wild Shape. You don't change your HP. Which...
That's fine. It's a good balance.
Fine with. Yeah, I mean, like, it was just, like, every time you use Wild Shape, it was just a buff of extra hit points. That was a lot sometimes. It was just like, that... Yeah, maybe it's not, like, big because these forms are stuff, but it's like you're using these forms just for the forms and their abilities, not for their hit points, which I think is fine. And it doesn't drive you out. I think that's better. Let's see here. Primal Circle of the Land got a bunch of changes. Some of the like crappy stuff is gone, and they gave you some new things like resistances.
Makes Circle of Land worth bothering with.
Yeah, they basically need Circle of Land something to consider. Circle of the Moon. Let's see here. Same rules as 2013 rules for druids, divided by 3 round down. Set AC for that, and you gain temporary hit points equal to 3 times your druid level. Gives you some spells. Improves some stuff there. So they reworked Circle of the Moon. Circle of the Sea is the new one. And
yeah, so you get more temp HP, you get better AC. Which is good, because if you're gonna like not get the monster's HP, because a lot of monsters are high HP, low AC, which is actually proper monster design. So now it's low HP, higher AC, which is honestly, I think, fair. So now you get the abilities of the monster rather than just the HP of them.
Yeah, and apparently with the improved circle, instead of having magical attacks, you can just do normal damage or radiant damage, which I guess is I feel like that is a better choice then, because radiant damage gets around, like, if you've got magical, it doesn't have a magical weapon, you know, kind of feels a little bit more logical. And you can use your wisdom modifier to constitution saves, making concentration better. There's probably some more subtle check changes to Wild Shape that we'd have to see full rules for. Okay. The 3 guiding bolts from Circle to Stars are now tied to your wisdom modifier until instead of proficiency. That's a good reason to have high wisdom then, a lot more guiding bolts for free. And so is Cosmic Omen tied to wisdom instead of proficiency. I think I'm fine with that. I think I'm fine.
Not really a problem there.
Yeah. Fighter! They added some stuff. That's pretty much it.
Fighter got some stuff.
Yep. Now,
it's relatively unchanged. Really. You still hit things good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now
You can no
now you
longer
can have
use-
persuasion as a skill.
Well,
you can
no,
choose.
no
good
longer
balance
cast spells.
change. That's a good balance change. I've done that build. It was gross.
Yeah, you can no longer cast spells as your bonus action in Action Surge.
Yeah.
Or sorry, not bonus action, but your
Because
extra action.
I did that in Children of Wrath, which was not a combat game, which is the only reason why I did that build for like the 2 combats we had.
What build?
The fighter sorcerer.
Oh yeah. Oh okay. I see. Yeah. So
Now you have 2 uses of second wind per long rest and get 1 back on a short rest. That's probably pretty good.
That's all right.
A little extra healing. They can spend a second wind to add 1d10 to a failed ability check. Let's see here.
I do like the use of second wind as a resource and the additions of it, because the idea of like 1 second wind was always just so underwhelming. My thing was always use it as soon as you can because there's no point in keeping it.
Yep.
The moment you lose more than your like level in HP plus 10,
Hey,
just use it,
you
which is pretty
now
much immediately.
at 5th level, when you use your second wind, you can move up to half your speed without opportunity attacks. Yeah, there you go. That's pretty good there.
Yeah.
The
so fact that you
Indomitable. Go ahead.
So the bunch of second winds, the fact that you can just heal yourself a bunch with a resource rather than just a one-time healing is nice, because that actually I think is the best use of. Like, it means if you're down, if you get really hit, you can just use a bunch of second winds a few turns in a row, and you're doing good again.
Hey, look, they're already getting rid of one of their big selling points of the system, the weapon masteries. Tactical master. You can use push, sap, or slow with any weapon. Meaning those weapons that you would have had that would have given you push, sap, or slow for the weapon masteries, less appealing.
Oh, yeah, I don't like weapon masteries at all. I just think they're not cool.
Yeah. A few. That's most of the big changes.
Fighter, you're still good at hitting stuff.
Yep. Let's see here. Battlemaster, the big thing is the rework of Know Your Enemy, which is a bonus action now. Usable once per long rest and rechargeable with a superiority die where you know its immunities, resistance, vulnerabilities. Pretty damn good and helpful. Once per turn, notably not once on each of your turns, you can use the Relentless now. And then they got just the maneuver options they mentioned, and they changed those around, so if you want to check those out. Champion has a few changes to it. Eldritch Knight now gets full access to the wizard spell list.
That's a good change.
Yep. Yeah. Honestly, I feel like, to be fair, I feel like the best use was shield. I love shield on a fighter, but the fact that but you really don't need the offensive spells as an Eldritch Knight. So it's like, and defensive spells were honestly really hit or miss in original 5e.
Yep. Warbond has better language, and you can summon things with bonus action now. War Magic. That's kind of like Blade Singer, I guess.
Yeah, they just gave it the better multi-attack.
And Eldritch Sight's the same as 2014, but works better because of the change in War Magic.
Yeah.
Arcane Change is completely the same as before. And Improved War Magic allows you to place 2 of your attacks to cast a first or second level spell instead of just a cantrip. So at 18th level, you could, I guess, Scorching Ray in between for replacing 2 of your attacks. Sonic Power is a little different. That's the only difference in Psy Warrior. Alright, Monk.
Monk got a lot of changes.
Yeah.
Monk got too many changes that I'm willing to read through. I'm gonna be honest.
God.
It's basically like a better class now. That's all you need to know.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm not. It's got a lot. They have focus points.
There's a change for every level.
Yeah.
They did a full redesign on Monk, which was needed.
Yeah. So I think that's because it's such a major change. That's a very hard one to go into, and I think we'll kind of just leave that if you want to look into all of things. Yeah. It's a big change. And then
Warrior Way of the Elements was completely redone too.
Yeah, that's a completely new class, basically.
Yeah.
The Way of the Four Elements. And then
Yeah.
Warrior Mercy and Warrior of Shadow, not major changes.
Mercy got nerfed, Shadow got buffed.
Yeah. And Way of the Open Hand gives options, I guess.
Technically got a little bit worse, but it's still the mechanically best one you can pick.
Yeah. So, there's a basic Sun Monk. Unless there's anything else you want to add on Monk.
No, it's Monk.
And
better.
Shadow's just better now. Yay, I guess.
Shadow got some changes it kind of needed.
Paladin. Lay on Hands is a bonus action.
I
It's a
have
good thing.
opinions on Paladin, but we'll get to it when we get down to the smite bit of the fucking thing.
Spell casting is not first level. That's
That's
fine.
fine.
Yeah, fighting. They get a fighting style. They now have Divine Smite always prepared as a spell.
Which is bad.
Yeah, it comes with some complications. It's cast as a bonus action after you hit with a melee weapon or unarmed strike, so you can now smite while punching,
Well, no.
but you can only smite once each turn. You can't smite on opportunity attacks. So it does prevent them from smiting a lot and burning through them.
Which I always found kind of the worst.
So that's
thing if
fine.
you're-
The easiest way to change this, and the way I've done it, is I've just attached a once per turn to the
Yes.
wording of smite without
Yep.
mechanically changing how it works. Because smiting spells can't work in silence, can be countered spelled, can't affect certain creatures, because certain
Only if it
creatures
has a
can't be.
Only if it has a verbal component for.
I believe smite does have a verbal component. At least I think it did when I looked
We'd have,
at the
we'd
UA.
have
I'd have to look at the UA or the new book,
Yeah.
which I don't have available.
Yeah,
Yeah.
some of them did. I know some of the versions
but-
of Smite.
It can be counterspelled, which is bad. Unless they change certain monster abilities, it can't affect certain kinds of monsters because certain monsters are immune to spells up below a certain level.
I think
I've
this
never
is-
run into that.
Again, I think the thing I want to say that I think my big opinion on this is, I think making it a bonus action is something that is dangerous.
Just take your bonus action, which is
Yeah.
honestly probably the most annoying part.
Yeah, because bonus action management is always an issue for a lot of classes, and especially because
Yeah.
sort of like one of these things is, granted,
Yeah.
It will
Either
come
you
up
have
that-
too many or none.
Yeah.
Basically,
And
how it
again,
always was.
when it comes to like the spells that a paladin has, most of the time, I gotta be honest, I'd rather do extra damage than special effects. Now, granted, it doesn't mean that there aren't times where special effects of the other smite spells might come up and be more helpful, but it's sort of like 9 times out of 10 you're probably just doing the damage, because damage is always better because creatures are still hit point sponges,
Well, I think it
and you need
brings
to murder them.
A good point. It pushes
Oh.
Paladin further into the archetype of being a one-handed fighter type character because
Oh,
it's always a bonus action to offhand a weapon.
yeah, and lay on hands a bonus action.
Well, it has a bonus action.
Yeah, and as like you said, yeah,
As
other
a
spells are
spell.
bonus actions. All the other smite spells
Yeah.
are bonus actions.
It's. I think this version of Paladin is bad.
Again, I don't mind that you limit the number of paladin smites, but directly making it a
It's
spell
everything
I think,
around
may
smite.
have some complications.
Everything
Yeah.
around just how they've done smite is bad, and then making it spell on top, that's really bad.
I think
Like,
what
part-
really will. Go ahead.
Part of me feels like what they should have done is just made it as part of, like, make it a spell, then make it as part of the attack, so you don't lose your bonus action. I feel like that would have helped a lot.
I think that's the problem. Is making it a spell that way also means that
There are a lot
there
of
is
spells.
there
are a few
there aren't
like that
spells.
already.
There really aren't spells that are free actions, are there?
No,
There are a few spells that are part of an attack. I think.
which should
What
be
else?
Booming Blade, Green Flame Blade.
Yeah,
Something like
Green
that.
Flame Blade and those. Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
But I just
Oh, yeah.
wouldn't make it a spell because it comes with too many complications of
Well,
it being
again,
just a spell.
I think this is the thing that I heard mentioned a little bit earlier today. We haven't seen a playtest for any of the other 2 books. We only saw Player's Handbook. And a playtest for some things from the Monster Manual might have been good because we would not have an idea
Yeah, like
if this would come up a lot more.
I'm going off the assumption that a Rashashka or whatever however you say it, a paladin can't smite that unless they've changed its core ability of it is not affected by spells below a certain level.
Again, we might see enough changes in the monster
releasing
manual for
these
it to work,
releasing these piecemeal. Well, it makes sense from a writing and design standpoint. It's bad because you need all of them to have an actual opinion on the system.
Yeah. Divine Health is gone. They get more.
It's kind of an ability that was just there and never really came because no one will use diseases as a mechanic.
Wait a second. It came up with my paladin.
It came up with you. It doesn't come up often.
That's the thing is, yes, it doesn't come up often, but like I thought it was
a fun flavor ability that
flavor.
I think is kind of weird that they've removed it.
Yeah.
Oh, are diseases just not in new D&D?
Oh.
I mean, diseases have always been like not very fun.
Yeah.
I think diseases are fine.
Like, I think they're fine, but I just don't think they're fun.
They weren't well. I think they weren't well designed. I think.
Well, most things treat them as some sort of like thing that just makes your character worse over a longer period of time than a poison, which is where it's just all like, this is boring.
They get channels, 2 per short rest, and eventually scales to 3, and they Divine Sense as a channel divinity option rather than its own thing. I think that's probably fine, I guess, because Divine Sense doesn't come up a lot, so yeah, I don't know. That's kind of like one of those mixed bag, because it also means that a lot of subclasses had channel divinities, so now you're choosing between that and Divine Sense, so I don't know.
I think it's, like I said, I overall think new Paladin is very badly designed.
Yeah,
I'm honestly just of the opinion that it's not as, like,
I don't think it's
not that big of a deal.
Well, again, I think it's that point in time where there are some good ideas in here. Like the limiting the Paladin spite, I honestly think that's fine. I think that was a great balancing act because of the way that Paladins work, that they kind of throw everything out there all at once and, like, front-loaded a lot of stuff where limiting to once a turn, I think that's fine. See, that's the core of the change, I think, is fine.
No, I agree.
Yeah, and that's why it's sort of like, I think they just did it terribly, and I think it's sort of like, there's a lot of great ideas that they're kind of working off of, but they just don't. They didn't execute them well.
The idea that it can be counterspell doesn't bother me. The idea that you can't smite certain creatures, hopefully they make that not as big of a deal. But like, I don't it doesn't bother me that much that it can be counterspelled, because I feel like
I think
smite has always been, in my opinion, like the most annoying thing. I really.
Why
is
it
fellow player or as a GM, I do not like smite.
See, I've dealt with smite a lot in a lot of different systems, and I felt like 5e smite is the most powerful of all the smites. Like,
I agree.
Even going by Pathfinder's like smite, which was like 3.5 smite, I liked that a lot better, honestly speaking. It still was powerful, but it was basically like, it was kind of like you had a limited number of them, and you chose one target, and you made it was like, hey, that guy there, I want to be able to kill that guy there. It's like, do I use it now? Or do I save this try for like a boss or something? It's like, it was like a resource you manage and you use them at kind of controlled, and it still wasn't super, like, I think it like added, was it like level to damage or something like that, and charisma to attack, which is still pretty good, but like, it isn't like 5d8 or something that you can, or some 68, which you can kind of get up to. Adding 20 to damage. Yeah, well, 68 was the average on that one. That is 27. 68's average would be 27. So it would more.
I'm of the opinion that core class feature should not be removed by a 3rd level spell.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of classes they've effectively done that for.
Devotion, Glory, Ancients, and Vengeance all have had changes to spell lists and stuff like that. So you can kind of take a look at the changes for them. Maybe we'll stick to the core class changes rather than the subclass a lot, because those are the major ones. Ranger. Here's one that I've had, like, here's where I'm first, this is my first time, like, looking at a lot of this list here of the changes, but I have heard a lot of discourse that people do not like a lot of changes to Ranger. Like, even more than Paladin, people talk about Ranger more.
As a Ranger fan, I don't like the changes.
So.
Because we got Peak Ranger with Tasha's, all they had to do was just reprint Tasha's Ranger and it would have been fine.
Yeah. Hunter's Mark is for fair for free, and you get 2 free costumes for long rest, which scales up. But now a lot of subclass and class features are based on using Hunter's Mark. Which it means that Hunter's Mark has to be their concentration.
Yeah.
Because it's a concentration ability, and they didn't get rid of concentration like we talked about. There are some spells that concentration has been removed from. Yay! They still have it out there.
Okay, so yeah, so Divine, you are correct about Divine Smite not working in Silence, because its only component is vocal.
It's too limited.
So I finally found it. So it's yeah, so basically you hit the target creature, your strike glows, Divine Power. So basically it's kind of the same, but it's just like, yeah. And then for each level above 1, it gets 1d8. So it's basically the same, it's just a vocal component, it's now a spell. However, you don't need to, you cast it after you hit, which is still nice.
But still uses your bonus action.
Yeah, it still uses your bonus action. I think that's honestly the most limiting part, is the bonus action. The idea of the spell, honestly, I also think it should have just been a somatic component.
For me, the spell part of it all will depend on monsters. You know, I think there are some things that I don't like for that. Like, as you said, counterspell, silence are big things to counteract that, which kind of don't feel quite right. But it's sort of like, again, I just think the execution is kind of terrible. But yeah, I mean, favorite enemy.
Okay, this is still from the playtest. I can't find it recent. I can't find.
Well, there's no reason for them not to make Smite a verbal when historically it's always been a verbally flavored ability in every edition. Because you are saying some kind of divine incantation when smiting.
Yeah. Anyway.
Let's see here. Great. Like, the big thing again is the changes to favorite enemy, which you have things that, you know, class abilities that rely on you using favorite enemy.
The Hunter's Mark, the level 1 favorite enemy changes are why I do not like this version of Ranger.
I think it's one of those things is, was Hunter's Mark concentration before?
Hunter's Mark has always been concentration, but your class didn't revolve around needing to use Hunter's Mark.
Okay. So I think that is I think I kind of agree, because it's concentration and your class revolves around using it for a lot of abilities. It means that will be your concentration spell, and since Rangers have a bunch of other concentration spells, you just won't be using those.
Most of the Ranger list is concentration.
I think this is the same kind of problem intrinsically I have with the Paladin in Smite, because it takes up what you'd be using for your other options most of the time. It is the standard, and the standard is good. So, again, it's the standard. The standard is good. You want to do the standard and won't want to have other variety in your actions. It makes you very one-note, you know, unfortunately.
Yeah, I played UA Ranger and it was not fun.
Yeah. So
these changes for Ranger are very divisive and overall negative.
I can definitely
wise.
I think I can definitely see why people are very disliking of it, and I can understand where they're coming from. Again,
I think the most annoying thing about favorite enemy is just the way they built this is that it's reliant on a spell.
Yep.
Because ultimately, it's like I played a Hunter's Mark Ranger, and it is very powerful and very fun. But if you have to do that, I feel like there are other ways to play Ranger, you know?
Again, that's the thing, is there should be other ways to play it, and, you know, still have options, and, you know, having a lot of your class abilities revolve around having Hunter's Mark active, I think is just a terrible idea. And then making it a spell you're concentrating. Because spells are a big way you add little extra things to a Ranger and make you have variety. The idea, if Hunter's Mark wasn't a spell, and you didn't have to concentrate on it,
Mhm.
I think the idea of having class abilities revolve around you use it would be an awesome idea. It's like they have a great idea at the core of these things. They're just executing it poorly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I think, and I mean, they literally devote later to it, basically saying, "Oh, and now you automatically succeed on concentration checks, right?" It's like something you get later, and it's all like, I think it's level 10? No.
That might be the Relentless Hunter ability to lose 13th level.
Oh, yeah, I think it is. Yeah, so basically, you get, you automatically succeed on concentration checks. It's like, yay, I get that at level 13. I no longer have to worry about my entire class going kaput because I got hit.
Yeah. Tying it to concentration was a terrible idea. The Rogue, I think I've talked about it before, but it's the entire thing of the Cunning Strike is a neat idea, but again, it's this entire thing of you have the same amount of damage you normally deal, and you're sacrificing damage, which still is the best thing in 5th edition, unless they dramatically change monsters, which from the examples they've given us, they haven't.
Yeah.
Damage is still the key aspect of any combat, and you're removing that for abilities which kind of maybe might be helpful. I think I think someone just months ago someone suggested just add an extra d6 and automatically you have incentive to use that. You know, it needs extra attack or just a little bit extra sneak attack to incentivize you to give up some of that and still balance you out with damage to get some of these cutting strikes and stuff like that. Something like that makes it, because they're a cool idea.
What were you talking about? What?
The Rogue.
Oh, okay, we moved on to Rogue. Okay.
Yeah, sorry. The Cunning Strike, which allows you to remove your damage from your sneak attack to add special effects. But again, it's sort of like that thing of, because damage is such an important thing in 5e, the way they've built combats, it needs to be situationally really good to use that.
From what I remember, what was more disappointing to me was that it basically, they still got to make saving throws. Like, if it was an automatic effect, I think it'd be fine. But it was the fact that you reduce this damage, make your attack, and then they get a saving throw against your effect. It's like, if I could guarantee that an attack would give them the poison condition, even if it was for till the end of their next turn, it'd be worth it. Like,
or
maybe they can make their save at the end of their next turn.
Yeah, make it the beginning of your next turn. You kind of like the reckless attack for Barbarian. It's sort of like, I gave up this damage to, for a turn, you got poisoned, which could help out my allies or something, and weaken your attacks against me.
But the fact that most of them are still just hit, make a saving throw, it's like, why am I getting rid of 2d6? Why am I getting rid of, 6...
1 or 2d6, yeah.
Yeah, why am I getting rid of, 7 damage? 7 average damage to maybe poison.
And there are plenty of things you can do without saves.
Great. Yeah. And a lot of things are immune to poison, although hopefully they fix.
And there are plenty of other things you can just do that, don't require saves, which you can just do instead. Soul Knight's not very changed. Assassins are a little better. Arcane Trickster's improved a little. Thief is actually kind of decent now. I think it's better. Sorcerer. Okay. They got more spells. And their innate sorcerer's feature allows them to do cool things. Yeah. They have no and prepares. I guess we'll have to see their spellcasting. I don't think it's changed much. But basically, they get the same number of spells as a base class now.
Yeah.
I think it's fine.
Mathematics are largely unchanged.
Yeah.
I don't think they did enough to sorcerer.
Yeah, I'm looking at the actual cunning strikes. Yeah, it's like poison. Succeed on a concentration throw or be poisoned for 1 minute. And they can save at the end of each of their turns. It's like, why am I getting rid of 3 damage for a chance at poison? It's
and,
trip. Dexterity save.
I'm sorry, most enemies are usually pretty good. I think the dexterity save the trip. Trip is okay because it they have to move to stand up. But that doesn't do a lot in 5e. I mean, okay, they can't move if you, like, move away. They can't follow you as much. But, like, they're not going to attack while lying down. They can just spend half their move to stand up.
Well, the nice thing about that is it gives advantage to all of your allies.
I guess situationally you could give some advantage to allies that are right there for a second, yeah. Until your enemy moves. So that would depend on initiative. You would have to make sure to do that and have some people before your person would move.
2d6 to do a Constitution saving throw, or they can only move or take an action, or bonus action, they can only do one. So it's like one action, bonus action, or action. But again, that's Constitution saving. Save.
Hi, kitty kitty.
Constitution save where they're unconscious. Everything's a save. Dexterity save or they're blinded. 3d6. Yep. 6d6 to make them unconscious with a save. It's just dumb. Anyway.
I mean, the unconscious one, I guess, is powerful enough that I could feel like that one is a risk for a save.
You are correct.
But again, like, the other one's not as much. Let's see, there's been some changes in the meta magic and the rewording. Innate sorcery's bonus action, so it's actually pretty good. They get their sorcerer points back more. Other than that, I mean, it's just having more spells is just better.
You're still a worse wizard.
You're still a worse wizard, unfortunately.
Congratulations. You picked an unfun class.
I like Pathfinder because they give sorcerers just more spells per day in Pathfinder 2e.
Honestly, Pathfinder 2e really made sorcerer its own thing in a lot of ways that I really like, because it's like
there are a lot of other good components, but I feel like the base of just getting more spells per day, like they can hit a lot harder because they just have a lot more spells. But that's the only thing. Depending
on your bloodline, depends on one of the 4 basic spell lists that you kick. You know, that's really cool.
Yeah, I mean that's all right. I mean,
I like that.
I know, but it's like you can do that with Witch, some other things. I think there are ways to switch things up also with some other classes. So it's not like the best thing, but yeah, generally, the fact that they, but yeah, you could have a Healy sorcerer if you wanted to, which is cool.
Let's see your Warlock. So you get more invocations, but pack boons are now invocations. But again, you can choose whether you take a pack boon or not. Then I think that's fine. Pack magic allows you to change out your cantrips. Magic cunning gives you back your pack magic slots. You can contact other plane once per day. Dramatically talk to your patron. But raw, you could talk to whatever the spell allows. Oh, yeah. So, the contact of the plane you get for contact patron. You don't actually have to contact your patron.
No.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
I feel like they also didn't do enough to Warlock.
Yeah, it's a lot of, like, small things here and there. There's not a lot of major changes. Like, more invocations, cool. The option of taking the packs is fine, I think. Because that means you can take multiple ones. Like, you know...
Yep.
I think that's fine. And then they've got they've done some changes to the Archfey, Celestial Fiend, Brave One. I'll have to check out the Wizard Splash art because the person in this article really loves it.
I posted the Glambard art in Discord.
Cool. Oh. The wizard subclasses now use the title for members of the subclass rather than School of X, so bards can't make a joke about college for school.
Yeah.
Wizards can change cantrips on a long rest.
That was Natasha's change.
Yeah. Ritual Adept is broken out of the skill attaching feature, which is still one of the wizard's tools. I don't remember Ritual Adept, but it's no longer part of spellcasting, its own thing. You get expertise as a wizard. That's fine.
Yeah, that's alright.
You can replace one of your
Ritual Adept, by the way, was the thing that lets you do a ritual without having to prep it.
Oh, that's pretty good. Yeah, cool. Okay, that is a very good ability for wizards. I get that one.
Yeah, it's like the main draw to play a wizard.
Yeah, actually, yeah. You know that was always a thing.
Yeah.
They've just
But
they
it's
just
not- no,
removed
but
it
it's not
from
a
the
separate
spell
thing.
casting
Yeah.
block and put its own thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's its own
That's what I like.
ability.
That's
'Cause it was
what I like about Wizard. You
Kind
can
of
just get a bunch
buried in the spell casting feature.
Yeah, because you just get a bunch of ritual spells, and then you can have a bunch of extra spells you can cast if you have some time.
Hey, you can replace your prepared spells on a short rest with memorized spells.
That's fine.
This is something I'm planning to honestly just get, like, this is something that I honestly just like the idea of, and I kind of almost just want to ask Joe to let me do, because it's just so annoying. Like, Wizards, when you have so many spells to prepare, the idea of just being able to take an hour and, like, maybe, and switch out for something you might need is so nice. Like,
Again,
we could have taken some time before we went into that dungeon, and I could have switched out one of my spells for an attack spell, because I thought we would be in a city.
I agree with Lightning, though. The new Warlock was 2 steps forward, 2 steps back. It's just kind of middle to say. Anyway, I think because that you can only use that. I believe from before you can only use that memorized like spell ability like once per long rest. So it's sort of like, oh, I need to suddenly switch my things. I can take a short rest and switch them out. You know, just an extra. You know, quickly. It's not something you can do every time, but still, that still is very helpful if you need to suddenly change spells in the middle of what you're doing. Yeah, definitely.
Do they? They
Spe-
seem to. It's not clear to me. Did they get rid of the thing where you can get extra spells back?
Arcane Recovery, it's not mentioned here. It might be gone, but I'm not sure.
Again, most of these are changes, so it might just be the same.
It might still be there, just unchanged.
Spell Mastery, only limited to spells that you can cast with an action, so you can't shield or Misty Step as a
Good change.
Mastery. Again, that's mostly an abusive thing, so I think it's
Spell
fine.
Mastery is, I mean, it's kind of a nerf, but it's a needed nerf.
Yeah. But you can also change it on a long rest instead of with 8 hours of study, so I think that's fine. And signature spells is identical to 2014. And then they just have the Abjurer. Diviner hasn't really any changes. Abjurer changed.
I'm just gonna check something. Okay, they did not change the exploits you can do with Arcane Ward. So that's still in the game.
What was the exploit?
You get a wand of mage armor.
Hmm.
You cast mage armor to get your Arcane Ward back. GA did it in a one-shot. It's not super gross, it's just a silly exploit you can do.
Well, that was actually the other thing, too. It's like you could get wands to... Like, back when we first started, when I was talking about doing multiple spells in a turn, you can have a wand now to do a spell. Like, you can do, your wand spell and your bonus action, normal spell slot, too. It's another one of those options. I forgot the wands. Other than their, species spell, whatever you call it.
I went to look at the D&D Beyond one, where they kind of list all the abilities. They don't list it here either.
Mm-hmm.
Arcane Recovery. That may just be gone. But then again, were they only listing changes here too? Maybe.
Yeah, this is mostly changes, but you have to keep in mind. Stuff's unchanged is probably there.
Oh yeah, another thing you can do that they should have removed, Arcane Ward works on ritual spells. So you can ritually cast Alarm and get your ward back.
Yep.
It's an exploit that's been in the game forever and should be removed.
Backgrounds. Origin feed, ability scores tied to it.
These are very lame. Backgrounds are very lamely done.
Arcane Recovery is still there. I just looked at it. Okay.
Yeah.
I found a thing that said it.
You have a species instead of a race.
That's fine.
Whatever.
Rename. It's whatever. It's better than Lineage, which they originally went with.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually think that's a good thing, honestly. I think race is kind of a problematic term nowadays.
Again, I think we discussed this a while ago.
It's going off the older definition of the term, which isn't applicable anymore in modern language.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Language changed.
That's really what it is.
It's fine. Yeah. And it was still in our language back in the 70s when the game was originally written. 50 years later, it isn't. We can update.
Language evolves.
Yeah. Let's see here. Asmar in the core rules, identical to the Monsters Multiverse version. But you can choose your transformation type every time you transform instead of locked in at level 3. So yeah. Now Dragonborn's closer to the Fitspin Treasure of Dragons version. which is fine. Let's see here. Dwarf gets more dark vision. The HP bonus on hill dwarfs is now on all dwarfs. Stone cutting is a temporary tremor sense. And weapon proficiencies are gone.
This is fine because there's mechanically not really a reason to ever play non-dwarf.
Well, now apparently it's, which I think is fine. It's just for flavor's sake, you're a hill and mountain dwarf. That's it. It's flavor.
Because mechanically, most of the time you play something, you're gonna have dead features as mountain dwarf.
Yeah. I think it's the same thing for like elf lineage. Just have a lineage, and it's just you just choose one lineage for more flavor's sake, and then you just get some abilities for having an elf lineage. So it sounds like. And Drow no longer have sunlight sensitivity.
Fine. Getting rid of that's been gone for a while, so it's alright.
High elves can now change their cantrip on a long rest. Wood elves are now appealing in the.
I'm back.
Sorry, missed that. Oh yeah, I see you popped away. I missed that because I was looking deeply at this sheet. Yeah. Anyway. Gnomish lineage replaced the concept of subrace. Again, they're just replacing it with something that you kind of... It's one ability and you get a choice between some things, so it's sort of there, but it's not there. Goliaths are
Goliath's core rule, it's great. I love Goliath.
Yep. You can change to large as a bonus action for a few minutes per day, get powerful build, and get Stone's Endurance, which they get a feature based on a giant ancestor.
Halflings all just being nimble is kind of lame.
Yeah, I think that's kind of lame. I like they still kind of had choices for lineage, but it was a lot more, flavor-wise with small changes. I thought that would have been fine, but yeah, no, they're... Humans are all variant humans. You also get heroic inspiration when you complete a long rest. That's pretty good. Orcs are new to the core rule, same as they pretty much were in Monsters Multiverse. Tiefling got more options than any other one over the course of 2014 from the various place. This does train it down a little bit for their legacy.
Thank God.
There was a lot of stuff with that.
There were too many types of tieflings. Elves and tieflings had too many types.
Yeah. Let's see here.
I mean, wasn't the types though introduced like later?
Yeah, they were introduced in Swords Coast Adventure.
Yeah, because the original. Oh yeah, because the original tiefling only had one type. They didn't.
Yeah, they gave it a bunch of juice, and they gave it too much juice.
Yeah, they didn't have like any juice to begin with, so they're like, we should probably give them some juice. But then they went too much.
For some reason, Wizards just kept making elves.
Let's see here. We got Origin, General Feats, Epic Boons, and Fighting Styles. Some of the Origin feats have been altered. Some of the feats that were normal just feats are now just Origin feats, like Lucky, Musician, which is really good now. Magic Initiative.
Proficiency bonus.
What?
Lucky now gives you proficient.
Points
equal it's luck points equal to your PB, which is good.
Not bad.
Rather than just 3.
Yeah, I think that's fine because it means it levels up with you. It's better.
And it just gives you advantage or disadvantage. It doesn't give you rerolls.
Yeah, which is good.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
I like how they changed the alert a lot, but I've been on record of saying that's just a good change of it being PB to initiative, and you can swap with someone if they're willing to.
Yep.
Yeah, the auto you cannot be surprised is honestly like the surprise thing was a lot weirder because the surprise was kind of a condition in the way they did it. It wasn't like actually a condition, but they described it like one.
Magic Initiate, limited to Cleric, Druid, Wizard. You get first level spell. You can retrain that spell when you gain a level, but not your class selection, and you can take it multiple times. Savage Attacker works with ranged weapons, but it's not that good still. Skilled can now be chosen more than once. And allows you to select proficiencies in tools.
Play a character with every skill proficiency.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of like doing that too.
So, the bunny lady I play, I was originally gonna do Lore Bard, which would have given me all but 4 skills in 5e.
I think the thing about it is with 5e DCs and the wild swing on rolls, unlike with Pathfinder, like first edition at very least, where it's very good to have certain players very like highly skilled at one things.
Mhm.
Yes, you can have someone that's very good in 5e, but I feel like having more people roll because the DC is usually
when the average DC is 15. That's
Yeah.
usually the average DC in 5th edition.
and
Everyone should roll. Everyone should attempt a roll, even if
Yeah.
they're untrained.
so that means I feel like having people with more skills is pretty good that way. We get general feats, which they just have a bunch of feats.
Too many feat changes to really go over.
Fighting style feats they just have some changes to some of the fighting styles they list here, but let's see.
Great weapon fighting is nerfed.
Yep.
Fighting styles require that you have the fighting style feature, but otherwise they're just feats.
Yeah.
So as long as you're a class that
okay.
gets the fighting style feature, I think you can take fighting style feats.
Okay. So yeah,
Thrown
so
weapon
not
fighting
just
is
anyone can do that.
doesn't really change. Great weapon fighting got
Well,
nerfed. Protection
wait,
is a little bit better.
Wait, why is this even worse? Because great weapon fighting.
Because you just get a 3 now instead of reroll.
Oh, I see. Yeah, before it was if you got a 1 or 2.
It's
you got a
mathematically
reroll.
just worse.
Yep.
Yeah.
I see. Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, no, you're right. I don't know why I was thinking of something else.
Yep. So yeah, it's just you get a set number instead of reroll.
Protection got a huge buff.
Yeah. Disadvantage all attacks against the creature you protect for the start of your next turn.
Pretty good.
Big improvement. Pretty good one.
Yep. I agree. That's really good. Now you can actually protect your squishy rogue if he wants to be an upfront fighter.
Yeah. Hey, caltrops do something. They give a save that if they fail, the creature's speed is 0 until the start of the next turn.
That's nice.
It's actually something. Firearms in the player's handbook.
Hey, Alchemist Fire is no longer a weapon. You just throw it into saving throw.
Yeah.
It's
Heavy
still,
weapon.
like, unless they've upped that damage, it's still not worth doing.
Hey, the heavy weapon proficiency just requires a certain strength or dexterity, and no longer cares about size. That's really good.
That's fine.
Yeah, I think that's good.
I mean, in a way, though, if you're gonna be like throwing a lot, it honestly could be nice.
Yep.
Also, just the Alchemist Fire's damage is so low. It's not really
Yeah,
worth
great
doing.
sword.
It's 1d4.
It's better
Hopefully
just
it's
throw like a javelin or something, or a knife.
And lightning skill technically couldn't be taken more than once.
Yeah.
Technically. It was one of those weird things. Is they normally do say whether a feat could be taken more than once, and they don't say it on that one. So it's sort of like you would take skilled and skilled expertise to get the maximum amount of like feats that would give you skills, and then you're done. You're SOL. Anyway, I think skilled expertise says you can take more than once, but it gives you a skill and expertise.
Yeah, you can take. I think skill. Yeah, I think that's correct.
I believe so, but I can't remember 100%. Because I didn't get that one into that one until later.
I don't really remember. As much as I take skill expert, you'd think I'd know how it actually reads.
It's like I was always taking skilled and like forgot all. I learned about this one in like the last like year or so.
Skill expert is
haven't used it.
kind of the best feat in the game.
Skill expertise.
Oh, wait, that's a thing? Hold on.
Yeah.
Gives you a skill proficiency and an expertise.
I think it also gives you +1 to abilities.
And a +1 to your abilities for you. It's very good.
Though you can't take that one more than once.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Oh, it's a Tasha's. Okay, that's that. Okay.
Yeah,
I
it's
thought that was a core one. I was like,
kind of one of the best feats in the game at the moment.
Two-weapon fighting is now part of the light mechanic.
I don't like
potions
this change.
Yeah.
Because that bit right there, you can dual-wield hand crossbows.
Yeah.
And I've seen how gross that can get.
Mm-hmm. Potions of healing are bonus action used on yourself or an ally.
That's been a rule everyone just uses.
Yeah. I mean, like, I usually was like bonus action on self, action on an ally because you're specifically trying to help them out or something. But that was just like.
wait, why is the dual wielding hand crossbows bad?
There's some really gross. There's a really gross elven archery build you can do with it, where you do more. You do an absurd amount of damage, basically, and
Okay.
it's just a really gross build that I've seen people do before.
Yeah, I mean, these kind of things don't like those. This one gross build doesn't bother me. I think that's actually kind of fun.
I think it's,
when you play with Cell a lot, you learn to dislike gross builds.
Got it. Never invite a Cell to a game. Honestly,
when you play with Cell a lot, Cell like it's like it says, basically like super advantage and then loads of attacks. Cell is a gremlin and a munchkin. I think that's the term, right? Someone who makes overpowered builds.
Well, I think what bothered me most about him was honestly just how he didn't let anyone else have a plan.
That's a discussion for another time, though.
Yeah.
Anyway. We have the basic crafting rules.
He's fine. I'm making out.
I agree.
Like, I was fine playing with him. It was just like, that was one thing that...
I had his build... It's like his build was fine. There wasn't anything particularly wrong with it.
His Pathfinder build wasn't that strong.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
It was just a normal healing witch, but I've seen Cell do some gross builds in Pathfinder.
I have also seen some. His character for Skulls and Shackles was just...
You made that one worse, to be fair, with an item.
I allowed that one to be worse.
You allowed a dress that gave like +6 to charisma or some shit to AC, and it was just really broken. And we all were like, "Don't give this item to someone." Even Cell down, I was like, "Please nerf this."
I think I did in the end. I don't remember, but
it was you did, and then we gave it to our Arcanist. So our Arcanist was just wearing a dress the entire game.
That was hilarious. Look, I try to make that idea of like, because they've suggested these in so many books of like these weird like Pirate Island items you can get. They have a lot of cool ideas in that book, but they don't do them very well.
Right? Yeah.
Anyway,
crafting it's still not meaningful.
It's there. Yep, it's okay. It's not great.
All they did was double the amount, and it still means that like.
Hey, if you want crafting, buy a third-party book.
Yep.
Yeah.
Also, I do like this, like, but they do now have crafting rules for scrolls, and 9th level scroll is less than it takes to make full plate. And I want to point out, it does not take 150 days to make a full plate IRL.
Well, it depends on what era of time they're trying to replicate. Because reasonably, depending on when in history it is, and what kind of tools are available, it would take that long to make a fully custom-fitted piece of full plate. But if we're talking like Renaissance era, nah. We're talking medieval, probably.
For spells, they have some spell changes. It's not comprehensive, they say, because there's a lot.
Yeah.
We talked about the multicast, the multiple spells per turn kind of. It's not necessarily an exploit. It's just if you have like other sources of spells, you can use them.
Potential. It's not that strong. It's weird. It might be an. I don't know. Who knows? It might get routed out.
It's a weird point of potential loophole, but it's fine.
I don't know if it's intentional or not because a lot of the wording in this is bad. Like that's all I can say is I don't know if this is an intentional change or it's a rule, like a language issue. But yeah, it's like I said, it's really only going to affect sorcerers to the greatest degree.
Okay,
anyways.
So cylinders have been improved from the wording, so they're like usable a lot now. I don't. There's an entire thing on this
cylinders
in here
are weird.
From a quick Google search, like even medieval period, it would take a few days to make full plate.
But
it was more of a skill issue because it's just really hard to make, and you have to be really good to make it.
But instead, in this one, it would take 150 days.
I feel like that's fine. It's mechanically the best armor in the game.
Yeah.
Cylinders have always been weird in tabletop. That's just always a weird thing.
They improved them, I guess it looks like. Alright.
No, they did not improve them, basically, now. It's like you have to cast them... cylinders now have to be cast up to a certain degree distance from the ground.
Yeah, cylinders have always been very weird.
Meaning you can't cast them in the air. If you're, like, flying, for whatever reason.
I'm just quickly looking through here and pointing out some things.
My guess is the cylinder's probably a mistake.
It's more of just an oversight.
Yeah.
Acid Splash is a 5-foot radius that attacks 2 things.
That's fine.
Let's see here. Quickly looking through. Armor of Agathist is now a bonus action. Let's see here. Barkskin is cast on...
One day,
oh,
though.
Barkskin's usable!
Yeah,
it's a
Barkskin's
bonus
better.
action,
Barkskin's
and
better now.
it no longer has concentration.
Blade
Wow.
Ward's also better now.
Wow. But Blade Ward requires concentration, but it's better now. Okay.
It's worth casting, potentially,
Yeah.
now.
So sleep was changed from... Sorry, I'm just jumping down because I was curious about this one. So
Yeah.
it's no longer a hit point thing. Instead, it's now a save or suck. In a very small radius.
Okay, so I'm fine with this, because I've seen what happens when a whole D&D party has sleep.
Yeah. I gotta be honest, it's fine, I think.
Fireball no longer spreads around corners. That's a good change.
I think for the sleep, because it's not automatic, I actually do like it better because it means I'm not limited by hit points, but it does mean they have a save.
A buff for later game, as Lightning says, because sleep is only good at low level.
Yeah.
When you start getting to high level monsters, it loses all usability.
So now it's useful at higher levels.
It's possible.
It's more balanced for a level distribution.
Yeah, it's more. It can be used at higher levels now, a little bit easier, but also then the saves might overcome it. So it's it could be useful. You know.
Fireball is a good change. It doesn't spread around corners, so people can actually take cover for Fireball now.
Oh, cool. Counterspell now allows the target to make a Constitution save.
Yeah, Counterspell is save now.
Making an ability check. If the spell cast using a spell slot is countered, the spell slot isn't spent. If constructively makes it hurt less players, less of the counterspells. Okay,
yeah,
so it's
a good and a bad change.
Yeah, it's easier to counter spells, but you don't lose the slot from countering spells. I understand.
There's just a lot of actions type got changed as the number reworks or AoE resizes.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of little things here.
Free Floor Water no longer specifies how many creatures it can feed. That's definitely an oversight.
Ha!
It's okay. I can just feed everyone in this town.
Yep. Cure Wounds is no longer restricted on creature type and does the 2d8 instead of 1d8.
That's fine because they started playing with get tags a little bit in other books.
Okay, you can't trap creatures in your demiplane.
Oh
I'm going to tell you that's probably
God, True Strike is useful now.
You now
I'm
can
going to fix that.
Yeah. True Strike now allows you to use your spellcasting ability to make a weapon attack. And you deal radiant damage instead of normal damage.
It's not dog shit anymore.
So basically it allows a spellcaster, if you wanted to do a warrior blade in some way, you can do it. And it does work with ranged weapons, so you can also just...
Also, Wish can be blocked by the Lady of Pain, which is kind of funny.
Okay. Hey, Entangle is different too. You're now excluded from the initial restraint effect. You don't entangle yourself.
Thank God, because that's such a bad oversight.
But now it's
now explicitly non-flammable as well.
Now it's a strength athletics check rather than just a strength save, which can actually be better or worse. That's it. Let's see here. You mentioned False Life got a buff.
False Life got a buff. Foresight is no longer as good as it was.
Flame Strike got extra damage. The AoE still sucks for Flame Strike, but at least it does damage
Inflict Wounds is useless now.
Oh, Magic Weapon is now a bonus action and doesn't require concentration.
I saw that.
They reduce the level at which you get. It increases.
God, they ruined Inflict Wounds.
Okay, so Guidance. I don't mind this because normally you only use Guidance on skills, so you choose a skill to buff, but it works on all checks of that skill for a minute.
Yeah.
So rather than just one check. So I think that's fine.
That's alright.
Ice Storm was buff. Yeah, reduces damage and now targets a con save. Wow,
so bad
for inflict wounds. Ew.
They basically inflict wounds is a worthless spell now.
Yeah.
Wow.
damage reduced and a con save. Yeah, no, it's no longer a spell attack. You can't. And the thing is, you can't buff. As far as I'm aware, you cannot buff save DCs in 5e.
Only with
can
certain
buff-
items, and that's it.
Yeah, there's very few items, but there are more basic items that let you do buff spell attacks.
Yeah.
Wow. Jeez.
In fact, I really want more touch attacks in 5e because there's none. There's literally one.
Yeah. Polymorph just gives you temporary hit points instead of separate hit points. Alright. Let's see here. Yeah, that sleep rework is such a...
Sleep one's fine.
It's good. It's fine. I think it's fine.
See, invisibility actually works now.
Oh, hey. See, invisibility actually works
It actually
now.
mechanically functions.
Oh.
Woo! It does something. Thank God.
What spell?
The invisibility.
Yeah.
Oh, invisibility.
It actually
Yeah.
does something now in 5th edition.
God. Spiritual weapon requires concentration, but adds a die of damage per level instead of 1 die per 2 levels.
It's basically just means you're going to use spiritual weapon until you summon celestial.
Yeah.
And then you're never going to cast spiritual weapon again in your life.
Yeah, unfortunately, it doesn't. It's been nerfed in a way that it's just not as good as some of the other things you can do.
Yeah, it's just not as good anymore.
Yeah. Let's see here, and then there's, of course, we mentioned True Strike one, which actually
Vicious Mockery got a damage increase. Certain wishes can be specifically
wait.
blocked by the Lady of Pain.
Did you
That's
guys
so
see,
simple.
did you guys
That's
see
very
the
funny.
invisibility change?
Yeah.
It now since hide now gives you the invisible condition, see
Yeah.
invisibility basically makes you able to see hiding creatures.
It's like, see, invisibility, I think, just did not actually mechanically do anything before,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah,
kind of
because
funny.
I think before it didn't actually like let you see creatures with the invisible condition. It was something weird that was more vaguely written.
Yeah, it was like a useless spell in 5th edition.
That's-
It had to be home rule a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. They haven't identified any spells that were removed, so we haven't seen any loss. We got a couple new spells too. Exhaustion is better. That's a big thing. I remember hearing about this. That rather than you still have 6 levels of it, but instead of the normal table, you suffer -2 to all ability checks and -5 levels of speed per level of exhaustion. So
It's a lot simpler.
It's a lot simpler, and it means that you can still function as a character with maybe 1 or 2 levels of exhaustion.
Yep. So since it's just ability checks, you can still fight
Yeah.
for the most part.
Well, penalty to hit, but you can still try, and it's not like a -2 or -4. It sucks, but it's not going to prevent you from possibly being able to still do something, if you have to. So yeah. The grappling has been kind of reworked. Incapacitate is much more harmful now, apparently. The action limitation was clarified. Okay.
General rules that if you couldn't take actions, you can take bonus actions. This was a terrible way to handle things. Now, incapacitated specifically prohibits actions, reactions, and bonus actions.
Yep. It breaks concentration specifically. Can't speak. Disadvantage on initiative. If you're unfortunate to roll initiative, all disadvantage. Well, incapacitated. And they changed petrified a little bit. So, yeah. Oh. Technically die of dehydration or starvation while petrified. Raw rules, because it doesn't say anything about that still.
Yeah, which is funny.
Yeah. Oh, here. Oh, God. Yeah. And again, they say specifically, don't just use 2014 rules. Don't mix and match rules.
Yeah.
They say that. But I think people are going to mix and match rules. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's like, you can use a 2014 character in the 2014 rule set. Well, cool. So what happens with things like weapon mastery and, like, I don't know.
Compatible, but really it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Certainly there are classes that had slight nerfs to them, like the Paladin, that, you might want to play there. But there's a lot of classes that got enough of a buff, I think, that their new versions are overall still better. Again, like kind of like 2 steps forward, 1 step back, almost. But in certain other ways, 2 steps forward, 2 steps back for certain ones. But still, nonetheless, overall, just looking at some of the changes, they feel like pretty okay changes in a lot of ways. It's just like, oh God. Just sitting here and like going over all this stuff, and it's taken us a little while here to dive into this list here. It's just so... It kind of makes me just... That side there says it all, I think, or should say it all. It's a lot of great ideas that I think... some of them have a really good core aspect of something that to improve and fix everything, but others are just like, you just kind of did something, and you really need to think about this a lot more on how you managed it. I think what you said at the beginning, Worm, it's undercooked.
Yep. Because I actually like a lot of the changes. I just think there are a lot of things, like, if, like, the Hunter's Mark, I honestly would probably just rule that Rangers don't concentrate on Hunter's Mark. There.
Hey,
solved.
That would fix so much issues with it. That's specifically something they just don't do. Wow.
Yep. Now you can do whatever you want and still get your benefits. And I'm looking it up. So, like, between 3 and 3.5 was 3 years. So they fixed it pretty readily, all the issues.
Again,
Yeah. Between 3.5 and 4 was 8 years.
Yeah.
Between 2014 and 2024, 5e, or between 5 and 5.5, 10 years. And I suspect in probably like 3 years we're going to get a 6. Because there's no way this is viable for that long.
I don't know. They're saying they're not going to do it anymore. This will be the permanent end version of everything that they can just edit or something. And
I think they said that around like 3, didn't they?
I don't know.
I feel like I heard something like that.
When 3 first came out, it was a new company doing something using an old property, so it was understandable there was a lot of issues with it, especially because that was Wizards' first foray into a role-playing game. So I definitely understand where they did 3.0 to 3.5. Similarly speaking, there was actually a 4.5. There was the 4th edition Essentials. I know very little about that because I wasn't playing 4th edition by the time that came out. I knew it existed, but I didn't know how much of a change it was. So, sort of like, this is very 5th edition coded, but it is very 5.5 to talk about all the changes it is. And, like in the other versions of it, it's somewhat compatible with the old stuff, sort of, kind of, maybe, but you really have to watch out for it because some stuff works okay, and you can just throw it in there. Other stuff, if you try to throw it in there, it's just going to break everything. You have to use DM discretion on that one. It was the same with 3rd edition to 3.5. It was probably the same for the Essentials to 4th edition. Same now. I don't know. Probably there'll be more details with this.
I personally have lost all interest in testing or playing this new edition.
I'm getting the books, but honestly, I'm like, you know what? I picked a really good time to start getting into Pathfinder 2e.
Yeah.
Because 2e actually has a lot to go for, and I've actually thought of a few homebrews. I always think of homebrews for everything. I rarely ever use them because people tend to complain about having to change what they know. But, yeah.
I think my entire thing, too, about a lot of this, that I think this is the thing that I kind of want to express, because I think it's something that we don't express very heavily sometimes when we discuss these things, because people are like, oh, you could always homebrew that. And I'm like, yes, you can. You can. You can always change.
That should not be yeah, but it should be self-contained. Like,
well, what I mean is, the rules can always be edited or ignored by you. But yes, as someone that has the rules in front of you, you want these rules to be a basic for where you're going, and you want to have the changes not because you need to make the changes, but because it works for your group, or for the situation you're in.
And that's kind of what I meant when I said, like, it should be self-consistent. Like, the problem is that there are broken pieces that just aren't going to work well in this. Also, the 4E Essentials thing was just extra. It was just basically kind of a reprint with a lot of extra stuff, and was completely backwards compatible. So it wasn't like and forwards compatible. It wasn't.
Okay.
So it was.
I know that people talk about it as like a kind of 4.5 sometimes, but I feel like
people were worried it was going to be a 4.5. So there's a lot of stuff at the time about it.
Okay.
But it ended up being fine.
It ended up being a lot simpler than even this, which I think is fine too. You know, it could still maybe be called a 4.5 because it's a reprinting with some slight upgrades, but it was probably the closest thing to what this is talked about.
Yeah,
there.
It was more a reprinting with extra options. So like, is more what it was. It was like reprinting a lot of the core stuff and some of the newer stuff into one book, and adding some extra stuff on top of it.
Yeah. Let's see here. I have this other article. I'm just checking if there's anything we forgot when we talked about stuff with this. If there's something else that you want to add anything to what we said there, Momo? I thought you were going to say something too.
Nah.
Okay. Oh yeah, there's something. There's another article I saw that had some list of some things. Yes, again, like they don't. Okay. Here's the thing that like I wanted them to at least say about. Once they cut out half orcs and half elves, I want them to at least say something about it, you know? Just say something. Apparently they say nothing about them at all.
Yeah, I was thinking they'd add some sort of combination ancestry option, but nope. Even
just mentioning mechanically, it's just you're playing one or the other, and you're just saying you're your parents are two different ones. I didn't like that, but I thought that would have been fine to add even as the simplest things, and not saying anything about it.
Yep. No, I agree.
You know, it's like you could give me the bare minimum. You know,
it's just there's so many loose ends here. It just so needed so much more work.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling because I know there's going to be either a very big reprint in like a year. Honestly, I say wait a year or two to buy this book. Because there will probably be a reprint with all of this junk fixed, which they kind of did for the first one, but it wasn't as big, so it wasn't like, you know, it was like a bunch of minor things they did.
I think this kind of brings back an issue that I technically have with Pathfinder, which is one of the things I really dislike about the Pathfinder 1E, I'm going to say. The need for me to sit back and see rules clarification. And the problem being, like, and this is something that, like, I feel like maybe it won't be so bad here, you know, with a lot of the changes, it's kind of this mixed bag. Like, Pathfinder First, I worry that's going to go to the Pathfinder First Edition levels where I need to make a decision on something, but it requires me more than just making a snap decision, because there are other things that could affect my decision. That's what I always worry about sometimes.
My thought
when I come with issues.
Yeah, the thing with Pathfinder 1E, and I think this is, again, the same thing, but I'm actually going to take a slightly different approach. And the thing I dislike about Pathfinder 1E is to understand certain things, I have to go to outside sources. To, like, errata, where they basically just list a whole bunch of clarifications.
Yeah.
And I'm worried this is basically going to be the same thing with 5e. The rules in the book are not going to be clear enough. I'm going to have to go outside the book to find a Twitter post or a FAQ page to know what the actual thing is saying.
Yeah.
Or is meant to be. And there was a few things like that in 5e, but they were explained fine. It's just some wording choices made some issues. Like, I know people had a lot of issue with how sleep worked, and people also had a lot of problems with how Thunderwave worked, just because of a few, like, wording choices. But ultimately, I figured them out from my first reading. I feel like a lot of other people didn't, but that's fine, because it's like some people get it, but in this case, I feel like there's going to be a lot of literally this is not clear.
I think the other thing is we're coming back to this. We have to look at this as new players a lot of times too, and you know, I think yes, it's good to come back and look at this as older players who should like kind of know things and stuff too. That's a very good direction to look at it from. But we have to remember that's not the only direction to look at it from, and we have to keep that in mind, too. Because there definitely is some aspects to this that we just have to keep in our brains and watch on these kind of things.
Yeah. But I just guarantee they're going to have to do a reprint. with rules updates. This is not finished enough.
Again, like some of these things where we got points where we can kind of talk about this, where there's like a little bit of language issues. I think that's one of those major things that I think is going to be remembered about this. Whether or not we get that reprint or errata that fixes these language issues. That this time now, this first print, which is going to be the print for a while now, I'm not going to lie.
Yep, at least
has a lot of little language issues. And again, you can't get away from that in any system. I can't remember what it is, but there was a Pathfinder 2e, the new remaster project. In one of the core books, there was like a wording issue that they already had errata or something. But, you know, I feel like there's a lot of stuff here, though. More than just a few things. I don't know. So. Anything else on this one while we're here? I think I said enough for now. I don't know. I don't know what else to say at this moment. Alright. So. Do we want to talk about our week in gaming then to finish up today?
Sure.
After that deep discussion. Did anyone do anything on Sunday day?
No.
I don't think we did because it's this Sunday
True.
that we are having Joseph's game.
Yep.
So, Monday we had off, did we not?
We had off. We didn't do Monday because I think River was doing something.
Yes. We had Tuesday, right?
I had my game. You guys learned a lot of stuff.
We did.
You are actually getting pretty close to figuring out who done it and then hunting them down. Spoilers, the investigation isn't very hard.
You know...
It's almost like I design puzzles and investigations for toddlers.
I'm not gonna lie.
Because you kind of have to for D&D. You can't really have a complicated web of investigation because your players aren't going to understand it.
I feel like sometimes there are characters that don't say certain things about
you know, weird that all of these leads you're following are pointing to some weird hell woman.
Yeah, I don't know. This one.
Maybe you should go hunt her down.
We should be fine. She's fine. There's nothing wrong with the hell woman.
Yeah.
There's not the hell woman you're looking for.
Yeah, you guys did a bunch of investigating. You learned what some tablets did. They are devices for divination, specifically seeing into the past, not the future, which is weird for divination. And then you just got like loads of information, and I think you're gonna go and like talk to some people and then do a stakeout next session to hunt down this woman.
I think there's a stakeout involved in whatever we're doing. I believe.
Also, something tried to talk to the three of you that have Warlock class features, and I only put that in as a thing that's going to be happening because three of you have Warlock class features.
There are three
Warlocks in this game.
Look, I think I'm the only one that should
not a point of strength between any of you.
I am the only true Warlock. The rest of them are Warlock pretenders.
Cell, I think, has one level of Warlock. Lynn isn't even a Warlock, but just has a Warlock class feature from what they're playing.
Pretenders.
So,
there can be only one true Warlock.
The worst things I can think of, or the worst errata I can find. What?
Okay, worst errata you can find.
In the Pathfinder 2e, just speeding through it. Is that one? This is probably the worst thing I can find. One thing was actually accidentally made a reaction when it should have been a free action.
Again,
that is the worst in the errata I can really find. Like,
yeah,
there's a lot of other things, but I remember seeing those. I'm like, that's weird. That's probably a typo. You know, like everything else that I see is one of those when I was reading through it.
I can't even remember what someone mentioned because it was just a small thing that was just like said something like, oh, there was this thing that the wording was wrong, but everybody knows, you know, why, like this, it should be this way kind of thing. Of like, oh, yeah, we're not in general, people running the game are like, that's weirdly worded. Oh, it should be saying this. Okay, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Also, a spell accidentally does like little bit too much damage or something like it does persistent damage when it like should.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Good times with those.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's like there's so few. It's like literally a list that is probably about 20 points long, and most of them are extremely minor.
Man, it turns out it's a well-made book. They playtested a lot. Wow.
I won't go that far.
I mean, like, not mechanically, like, at least playtesting and making sure to get most of the, like, a well-edited book.
I wouldn't go that far. I've seen how the original book is laid out.
Not so bad as it used to be.
And GM
Good
Core
stuff on
literally has
Wednesday.
8 errata points in the GM Core.
So then we had Wednesday though, which was my game, Crimson Queen.
Yeah.
Which you continued your exploration. You met a nice lady that turned out to be very evil. I mean,
should have killed her.
I'm not gonna lie. This was so much more hilarious than I thought it would ever end up with this character.
I pointed at that woman and cast Finger of Death.
I mean, you might not have infected her. She has a pretty high spell resistance. But Joe just could have smashed her very easily. She's not the type of creature to, like...
a tiny woman in a dungeon.
It's the weird thing of, like, there are living creatures here, technically.
Evil, tiny lady.
Look, like I said, I don't think my character would have been
I
so
also
defensive.
don't care. I'll be real.
I know, but I just don't think my character would have been so defensive if, like, Lightning's character
I just
hasn't...
truly respect hearing a voice call for help with fireballing. I truly respect doing that.
That was...
Honestly, that's a power move, and I respect doing it.
Honestly, I mean, part of me, if I was the GM and someone did that, I would just make it. I would just have said, "Okay, they died. They were a civilian. The actual witch is in the next room."
I mean, like,
fireball her too.
I mean, like, it was just such a thing, and I was like, "Wow." I mean, it's like your reasoning behind it was perfectly logic. We are in a really cursed, evil place.
There is nothing good in this dungeon. Nothing good exists in a dungeon where there is a monster called a corpse orgy.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I do think that... I don't think any of them are currently alive, but I do think the dragon has drug back living victims to slowly eat before.
I'm curious.
It is possible.
I'm curious. Was that whole tied-up thing, like, actually in the book?
Yes! She does actually go in there and disguise herself.
My thought is just... Why? Like, I feel like her just trying to make a deal would have been so much, like...
If her undead things don't come to her servants that she had, after the fight, she assumes they've lost.
Okay.
So, she hears the sound of battle, she disguises herself because she's shape-changed, and she climbs up in the thing, which she can, and just waits there because she's very defensive, because she knows this place is filled with a lot of stuff which tend to be incredibly hostile to her existence.
Well...
She is very aware that this is a very dangerous place, but she wants money. She's very neutral, evil, greedy.
Yeah, but my thought is just like, well, what if they were undead? They would have just killed an innocent person. Like, if she was worried about something else.
I think it's the undead she's less worried about, because the chained spirit that lords over this place probably would keep most of the undead away. She's worried about the non-undead things showing up.
But then those non-undead things in an evil place would still need to have compassion, which that's why I just don't understand the logic there.
Well, again, she assumes that whatever it is would be willing to listen. And so she like, says like she's something weakening, and like, when they come in there, depending on who it is, she might try to deal with them in different ways. When you are peopled, one of you repping a holy symbol of a very good, a good deity on there.
Neutral. Phrasma truly doesn't care about this woman.
Sorry, but...
Saren.
Sarenrae,
holy
thank
symbol
you.
of
I kept wanting
Sarenrae
to say saloon, but I'm like,
screams, hey,
I
wait a
want to
second.
worship the saloon god.
Mhm.
that's Baldur's Gate.
Again, also, it's the entire thing. If it is something that she can deal with in other ways, she probably would have stabbed in the back. She could tell, like, you are not a group to stab in the back, basically.
We are
She's good at judging you.
powerful creatures.
Yeah.
Yep. No, and I kind of, and out of character, it's like I knew something was wrong, but part of me was just all like, I can't let someone who is just fireballed, even if they are inconspicuously completely unharmed, get away.
The thing is, again, she waited to talk to you until she was outside of the area, because then she was outside of where things could observe what she was saying, basically. Because she's like, hey, look, I did lie to you, but I couldn't have said stuff in there about shit, I had to keep things chill. There's, like, spirits in the walls, literally.
Yep. I keep making that joke. Anyway, but yeah, no, that was very interesting. I'm happy with how that turned out. I think that was a very fun role-playing moment, to be honest, where I'm just all like, I'm going to be... It's like, yeah, I don't know.
Again, I also think it's a situation where every character acted very much so like their character was, and no one was particularly wrong, Yeah. And I think that was it made a very good situation, very interesting, and there are a few things like this in this place, but this is like one of the main ones.
Honestly, Ada's logic was literally, yeah, this is suspicious. Yeah, she's probably evil, but what if she isn't? I don't want to take that risk.
I mean, you did learn about a horrible dragon that would be really difficult and horrible to fight, and now patrols the skies occasionally because there's something going on in the place. He was just chilling for for a long time, occasionally going out and hunting, and kind of bored because he's stuck here. It's one of those unfortunate things when you're like bound to a chained spirit, even if you're alive. You're stuck there.
Yep.
But anyway. Did anybody else do anything else Thursday or Friday?
No,
nope.
I've been working on my own fantasy magic system, just for fun because I've been bored.
Oh, all right. Ooh. Well, that was very long, but we did dive into 5e 5.5 a bunch. We'll probably have more updates in the future, but they probably won't be as long as this one. I don't think for sure. There are probably more
this
details.
is very much the heavy overview. I feel like the next big thing is probably going to be when I get my book, because I'm probably going to get it first. Because I already pre-ordered it.
Also, maybe as we kind of go, there might be more updates on spells and things like that, and little things that might pop up that people are noticing about the books and the mechanics and stuff like that. We'll have to kind of it's a lot of wait and see for some things in the future. So, let me leave it there. Momo, do you got anything to shout out for the people?
Shout out to this Windows 11 update that's sitting on my computer here that wasn't there 2 days ago because Microsoft kept telling me my PC couldn't handle it, then just appeared one day yesterday saying, oh, your computer's fine now for some reason. I don't get it. Microsoft's dumb.
What was it? Was that my old computer, I think, or was it this one that had... no, I think it was the old computer that I had that had, an update that kept, breaking everything for 3 months, so I couldn't update anything. And then finally, it finally updated, and it didn't break anything. I'm like, oh, you finally came up with an update that doesn't break my system.
So on Monday I'm going to be upgrading to Windows 11, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, in general, it breaks less if you update it more consistently. But yes, it is annoying.
Yeah. Worm, do you have anything to shout out?
I'm DiamondWyrm. You can find me on twitch.tv/DiamondWyrm or at DiamondWyrm on Twitter. I'm probably going to start streaming again now. I mean, I streamed today, but it's definitely going to be shorter. I might skip a few days here and there. I'm still getting things moved, still getting things set up. I mean, I set up all this stuff, but I haven't done any of the wire management, which I was planning to do. I just got it all set up so I could do stuff on Wednesdays and Saturdays and such. So, a lot of stuff I need to do. I also need to set up the 2 new monitors I got, so that'll be a big thing. I don't know. And so I probably won't stream tomorrow, but maybe I'll stream Tuesday, I think will probably be the next time I stream.
Cool.
So.
Neat. Myself, Dancing After Dracovin. I think I can thunder the background now, so I'm getting some storms. I will be only doing 2 things this week, so keep it in mind. Just Crimson Queen and Discussing Tabletop. It was another. I've been taking like a week off, like a work week for most of these things from streaming. Honestly speaking, I'll kind of play it by ear though. Like I missed a couple things this week. If I like get things done, I might do like a bonus thing in there, but I'll probably skip out on all the tabletop stuff. I'll just upload the things I've got this week. So keep that in mind. Okay, everybody. I guess unless something else comes up, I'll see everybody on what, next Wednesday for Crimson Queen, 9 p.m. EST. So make sure to join us. We'll be all there. I'll be hanging out with some of these people in various games up until then, and then we'll all be there for that. We're gonna get a little bit more of a side thing, because every time you come back to rest, I've got like a list of things that can pop up. You're very in demand people as being in charge of technically being one of the major people in charge of rebellion. So when something comes up, they gotta contact you. Can you interrupt us for a couple hours to take care of something in between you're like taking care of some undead at a place? Please, thank you.
Yep.
Anyway. Alright. Everybody, I hope you have a great rest of your weekend, great rest of your day. And, check out my links of social media below and all that kind of stuff. And check out, if you're on Twitch, check out the Twitch, YouTube side. If you're on YouTube, check out the Twitch side. Anyway, alright, everybody. I gave my shout outs. Farewell for now. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.